This episode is brought to you in part by Grubhub. What's Grubhub? Grubhub will get food to you. Look, you're not always going to have time to get out to a restaurant and, things being what they are. Maybe you don't even want to. Hey, Grubhub has you covered. Grubhub serves you and Grubhub serves restaurants. They're that middleman that's going to make sure that you get the food that you're looking for from all your favorite local restaurants, whether that's a national chain or a local favorite, all that other stuff. They'll make it come to you so you can enjoy it. Grubhub works hard to serve restaurants so they can work hard to serve you. They're not going to mess this up and make the restaurants look bad. Those are the restaurants you like. A restaurant's reputation matters. They don't want to screw that up. And today, Grubhub's doing a little bit extra to serve Panera. You can get a free delivery perk on your first order from Panera of $15 or more. Order through the Grubhub app or online. Grubhub, we serve restaurants. What are you doing? It's Tuesday. You're listening to a podcast. It's called the Giant Bombcast. I'm Jeff Gerstmann, hosting the show this is it. It's the end of July.
Jesus.
Whew. July is over. I found my fidget spinner yesterday as well. Danny O'Dwyer.
I have
how's
three
it
of these.
spin?
I don't know why.
How's it been holding up?
It's good. It keeps the spin real good.
Great.
It helps me with fidgeting. I realized I'm a fidgety person long after I got these, so they just sat in a drawer for a long time. But I bought them with the sort of oil. No, I don't oil my fidget spinner. What's wrong with you?
Well, I'm afraid
he lubes it up. That's what he does. Come on.
He lubes up everything. Bacalar just lives in a lube world. I can't live that lube life.
Lube. Love lube. It's the best.
It
depends which one and what you're putting it on, though.
I've got a creaky door.
Switches?
That I got
pinball machines.
I got to lube up. I got some WD-40. Gonna spray it on down. Smack it up, flip it, and rub it down is, I think, the technical term. Jan Ochoa is here. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I visited the office last week to find my old MacBook to give to an IT person.
Mm-hmm.
In one of my personal belonging boxes was actually a can of WD-40.
Great.
Beautiful.
Take it home. You're like, taking this.
I thought about taking it home, but I was like, I don't know why this is in here with my stuff.
Oh, weird. You left it there.
I don't remember the last time I've purchased a can of WD-40 because I bought one when I was 10 and it's lasted me since then.
You bought it out to do like a flamethrower?
Oh, of course. And, to lube.
I'm surprised anyone's selling a 10-year-old a bottle of WD-40. Like, that's
like, what
kind of
we doing with this kid?
Sudafed sort of sales, protocol.
Good vintage.
Yeah.
I got to lube this stuff up.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
Yeah.
My voice
Got a
is
creepy door, old man.
Yeah. My pa sent me down here to get some WD-40.
I was wearing
and a box of
overalls,
lighters.
and my face was all like smudged with like car oil and everything. Yeah,
Smart.
Were you wearing
extra
overalls? You're wearing like Dickies overalls with a bunch of grease all over it.
Yeah, patches on my knees.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
For Ma and Pa.
you just smell like a car.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good, honest smell. Jeff Bacalar, what's your favorite HyperCard stack? Go.
Oh shit! I am not as well versed as that question implies.
All right.
I used HyperCard in I want to say the mid 90s. I was in a computer club in my middle school, and look, HyperCard taught me very basic, almost like web page design, because that's essentially what it was. It was like a logic based, sort of like presentational software. Right, where you could link media to text. It was right, like that was
it was like a web. Yeah, it was definitely like it was hypertext, but HyperCard, and it was it was like an offline set of information with like some limited multimedia capabilities.
Right.
And
So
yeah.
So what does Jeff do with that in 1995?
Was it like Mac PowerPoint? Is that what it was?
Kinda.
Yeah,
Kind
in a
of.
way.
Yeah.
So, like, I think I just downloaded a bunch of like Tommy Boy waves and just like linked and like made like my own little link factory soundboard of that, which I'm pretty proud of, I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist anywhere, but it was a good afternoon.
I mean, we
That's
could
for
probably
sure.
remake it. We could get. You can run a Mac Plus on a Mister, so maybe we could get HyperCard going on that. I started working for a magazine in '94, and it was the first time I had ever encountered a Mac, because they were in the magazine business, and that's what you did. And and me and Glenn, who I was working with at the time, we just sat on the internet because we had also never had high-speed internet before. We had dial-up at home, and it was at the time when dial-up was a shell account. You were dialing into a terminal and typing stuff, and not PPP accounts and slip accounts were just coming into vogue, and so. We got our hands on a bunch of HyperCards. There was promotional stuff. Like the Beastie Boys put out a HyperCard stack for their upcoming album that had little sound samples of some of the songs on it, and
images
and all that sort of stuff. Images, yeah, like little barely animated images, and all this stuff. It was pretty neat. And I don't know if that ever turned. I feel like I bring up the Beastie Boys HyperCard stack, let's say once every 4 or 5 years, and no one has come out of the woodwork to say, I've got that, here it is. So
that's a real
telling
specific
the story until it shows up.
What if Glenn
Someone
secretly
must
made it himself?
Yeah, I know. God damn it. God damn it.
See, I think I was just on the cusp of, like, if what was I in '95? I was 13, so I don't think I had properly wrapped my head around like what exactly it was I was screwing around with. So to me, it was just this program that I could only access at my middle school, and the idea of like, there's probably a file extension that this program works with, and you could just like do whatever. Like, that was probably another year or two before I really understood all that.
Yeah.
When I was getting into HTML in my later teens and whatnot.
Man, this is like the opposite of my burgeoning internet, where my brother did a computer science course, so we got a PC at home in 1998, but we didn't get the internet for like 2 years maybe. So the only like access to files I got was that he would come down from Dublin every weekend with zip disks full of just stuff that he had scraped off of the Trinity College like share file folder. And it was just like a loot box of like porn and funny Cheech and Chong wavs and like just GIFs and anything. And one time he brought down a folder called Half-Life, but it was only like 1/3 of the game, so it took him like 2 more weeks to bring the rest of the files home.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I made my first website.
Are you starting a documentary right now? I was like, where are we going with this story?
Well, my first website I ever made was a Half-Life fan site, but I coded it. It was my first HTML that I ever did, but it was before we had the internet, so I didn't know what websites looked like, so I just made this Half-Life thing.
Wait a minute, you were using HTML before you had access to the internet?
Yeah, I made websites for like 2 years before I had the
That's
internet.
wild, dude.
Which is great, because then when we got the internet, then I started a web design company and made like a fortune as a teenager in my hometown. So it was like 2 years of training offline, making websites that made no sense, that were playing like 6 megabyte WAV music in the background, stuff you could never actually do if you were on like shitty internet in Ireland in the early
you
aughts.
weren't held down by those constructs. You were just free thinking back then.
No, one resolution, my resolution.
Yeah, you're like the Shingy of the early web. Yeah, man, those were heady days. I made money once building a website.
Nice.
Exactly once, and never again. It was for my dentist's girlfriend. Why girlfriend? Why?
That sounds about right. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, she needed a website, and I made her a website. I forget what it's even for. Some kind of
Like a business
fucking crystals or
eyelash
I don't know,
extension.
No.
something.
Some
Something.
crystal healing crystal.
That's it though. Because everyone wants. There was a time where everyone wanted a website, but nobody wanted to pay a company to make a website because they just had like a B&B or a flower shop or something.
Exactly.
So I just
and they're like, I know that someone's boy knows how to do this internet, and yeah, that's you were that boy.
There was a highly lucrative moment in history in the nascent days of internet between like 93 and 98 probably, where widespread adoption and understanding of the internet was like a decade away.
Yeah.
And even the most rudimentary learned internet user who like took it upon themselves, he or she could make a sizable killing with just sort of like scamming and doing whatever you needed to do and hustling and doing those things. Like I remember being in high school and I put together like the school's newspaper website. And I feel like a month later, I was asked to like join a company where they were like, "We need an internet tech," and it turns out you're our guy.
We need a webmaster.
We looked through all 600 high school juniors, and you're the only one that came up on our list. So what do you say, Bacalar? And I wound up working for a website when I was, like 15 or 16. But like,
tight.
Yeah. That was like the golden era of like just uneducated people saying, I need web right now.
Dude, we had this we had this proxy war in my hometown where a bunch of different people had made like message boards for the teenagers in the town. I had this website that I ran called the Jammy Blah, which is like a blah is like a very obscure like bread item that is only made in my hometown. And then there was another forum which was SMDF, which was two bands, Spilt Milk and Downfall, had created their own forum. So we had this like competing forum wars where people would like, which cool forum were you part of? And they'd like turn up on the other forum and give shit. It was such a good time, man. It was just like, I missed that shit.
The 3 or 4 years before that, it was IRC, it was chat rooms warring with each other, and the idea of like, you knew someone who was going to college, so they had a permanent internet connection, and so they could run a bot that would take up residence in a channel and hold it down for you. Because if everyone left the channel, the next person to join it started running it. And so you had to, if you had a desirable channel where you were, I don't know, sharing bootleg video games or porn or music or whatever it was at the time.
Above.
Yeah, you needed to hold it down 24/7, and the network was shaky, and so you would have moments where like you would lose control of a channel, and you'd have people that were like, "Well, I'm going to stay up all night." It was basically like some of the EVE Online stories sound a little bit like that,
right?
Where it's like I needed to stay up until everyone else was asleep, and then my bots attacked, and we took the channel back. It's like it's weird shit like that.
King of the Hill.
Because I feel like that was kind of before a time where people were doing it, but like a lot of people didn't leave their computers on 24/7, right? Like I feel like
fortune if you're on dial-up, especially
totally where you're being billed hourly or whatever the hell it was. IRC was such a huge part of my childhood because I don't know what it was where everyone was on AOL. I was just sort of, I think I early on realized I was like, you're connected to AOL, but like if you just minimize AOL, you could also just double click on Internet Explorer and then you are on the real internet.
As somebody who worked for AOL's customer service, this exact epiphany I have been on the opposite side of at least 100 times, where I've said, you don't have to log in, you can just open up the browser, and they're like, oh my god, hang up.
It was that epiphany, you're totally right, where like I realized in a second, I was like, oh, this is way different than I thought.
Where the
keywords? Wait, you could do that?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. I didn't have to sign in.
AOL was just the vessel. It was just like the it was your ISP.
You're on broadband,
it was your ISP.
You go to keyword internet. You don't.
Because there were like early 56k AOLs where you would, when you booted AOL, it would dial you in. But even if you
Right.
did that, you could just minimize
Right.
it. But if you're on broadband, you don't
Totally.
even have to touch AOL.
No.
Okay. Could you guys like reverse tech solve this problem I had growing up in middle school?
Sure, we'll solve your 1997
absolutely.
internet problem.
Excuse me, middle school or 2000 problem.
Okay.
So I had an uncle. We had an E-Machines computer, right?
Well, there's your problem.
I figured that might have been it. We had like dial-up or whatever plugged into the computer, and I would browse the internet. And then one day, my uncle used the computer, and he was at the computer for a very long time.
Things loaded
and-
up real slow back then, let me tell you.
And
Get
then
the job done.
I
Every
go back
frame
to
of
the
painting.
I go back to the computer afterwards, and like, as far as I know,
It's
nothing's
covered in the sticky residue.
Yeah.
That's what the WD-40 was for.
Yeah.
And I go back to the computer. I launch the AOL browser thing, and it won't connect to the internet. And like, I launch Internet Explorer, nothing is connecting to the internet. The only thing I can get online to talk with people is like AIM at the time. So like none of my browsers would work, and I thought like, oh, did it get disconnected? And like, no one was using the phone. The little icon was like, no, you're hardwired in. Just like any browser would not connect to the internet, and that was my life for like 2 years.
He
2 years.
downloaded he clicked on a bunch of bad shit that probably like messed up the proxy
Hijacked.
settings,
Yeah.
or like the browsers got hijacked by dumb shit, and then he probably tried to fix it and cleansed some of the dumb shit, but didn't actually fix it to work the way it used to. That's my guess.
Okay, because
You know,
that was a
just,
miserable 2 years, man.
Yeah, I bet.
Sounds like it, dude. I always remember those two little network computer icons in the taskbar that were lighting up. That's how you knew you were getting that sick connection. There was so much that I feel like IRC taught me, though, right? Like, and a lot of IRC logic is still around. Like, I feel like you see that in Twitch more than anything else in those chats. Where like,
Yep.
They're based on, right?
exclamation point
Yeah, you used to be
triggers.
able-
And
I don't know
stuff
if you still can, but you definitely used to be able to connect to Twitch chat with an IRC client.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
What's that stuff called again? Not BB. What's it called? There's some name. It's not. There's a name for that. All those commands that you use. They're almost sort of like that IRC commands that then they ended up using in those. I forget it. It's like BB code or something on message board forums. Like the
Markdown,
the bowl.
like not like Markdown or
markup.
something like that. But
Yeah,
like
Markdown.
markup,
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, no, you used to be able to. Maybe you still can, but I'm not sure if it is still allowing IRC connections or not. Like Discord, I think part of the reason I'm super drawn to Discord, and part of the reason why I'm so fucking incensed that they are bringing threading to Discord, is because Discord has kind of recreated that. I mean, literally, one of the Discords I'm on is a bunch of people I was on IRC with in the 90s. So
Awesome.
you know, and yes, and that is yes, not to jump ahead to news, but they're adding threading to it, which is like that. I feel like when this company got purchased, everyone suddenly started using threading on Slack. I don't know if they were taking cues from the new people they were working with, but everyone uses threads on Slack now, and I think it super sucks.
It's weird because it's like the whole point of all these things is to get away from email, and then you go and fucking retrofit the thing.
Yeah,
with
or you're like slamming a bunch of fucking like the whole idea of chat is it's fucking chat.
right.
It's going. But when you add threading to it, you've made a message board. You fucked up. You made a message board. That's not a fucking chat anymore. Live chat is live chat. God damn it. Message boards are fine. I don't know. Like that's that. But I was always a live chat type of person. When I was working at that magazine is right around the same time that AOL was given access to the internet, the real internet. And so all of that collided in like this, like I had been on the internet for a couple of years at that point, and then suddenly every single 19-year-old on the planet was posting to Usenet and trying to get free shit and had no idea about the years of etiquette that had been built, and
Oh no.
it was just a fucking disaster. It was and look at the internet now. Look at us fucking now.
That's what the other days of Twitter felt like. Was like, oh shit, now my like uncle can be on a message board. Like,
Yeah.
damn it. We used to have there was a barrier to entry here.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
is now gone. That I do not like. I wish it was still there.
Yeah.
I
So it's
saw-
just creating higher and higher, not to gatekeep, but
No, for
sometimes
sure.
it's
It's jarring,
sometimes
right?
sometimes you just don't want to deal with some shit.
Yeah.
I saw a screenshot of Twitter from 2009
hmm
when you could basically make that shit look like GeoCities with like a custom background and all goofy at that was an ugly ass website.
Just play Hypnospace Outlaw, man. It's a good time.
Yeah.
Bring you right back.
For sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. Hey, speaking of video games,
There's a lot.
there's a lot. Yeah, pitch it down, man. Yeah, pitch it down further. Keep going.
Why come up with new music when we can just pitch it down or pitch it up?
Exactly.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Video games. Hey, let's talk about MOBAs.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yeah,
Feels
Jan.
sick already.
Congratulations
I
on the
downloaded,
name of the show, by the way.
I downloaded Pokemon Unite, and
Hell yeah, baby.
because I heard that there was a login, an early adopter bonus character that if you go through some process by the 31st, you'll get access to it. And I was like, well, I should probably do that because what if this game's good? And then I downloaded it, but haven't actually run it yet. Jan, does this truly unite Pokemon fans, or does it doom them to eternal torment and suffering?
I don't know, Gersman. He's about to pull his fucking eyes out of his socket. Like, what is it?
Okay. This is probably the worst game to ever happen to me.
Oh, okay. The mystery
All right,
continues.
go on.
Because I used to play League on like a 2014 MacBook that could barely run it, and I never got good at the game because like my MacBook sounded like it wanted to like implode, and then all my friends that I started playing League with stopped playing League. And then I was always like Dota or MOBA curious, but as we all know here, really into Pokemon. And this is so okay. Rolling it back, Pokemon Unite is a Poke-MOBA, but not completely in a MOBA sense where you are leading a wave of friendly creeps to a tower to attack a tower. You are attacking neutral creeps, and you are taking the Aeon balls that you get from the Pokemon.
I hear you.
You are then taking said balls and taking them to opposing enemy towers to dunk on these fools.
Yeah.
This is a better basketball movie than Space Jam 2.
Great.
This isn't
Not
even
hard.
a movie, but that's the twist on the MOBA. So, and the enemy towers, they're not like actively attacking you or anything. If you stand by your friendly tower, it'll heal you up slowly and give you kind of like an overshield. But that's the flow of the game. And I think the best and worst part about this is that the matches, standard and ranked matches, are only 10 minutes. There's no overtime. At the end of 10, you're just done, and the games decide from there. The quick matches are 5 minutes a pop, which is wild because I'm doing the potato chip thing here, right? Where it's like, oh, just one more. I could just get one more in. I'll just get one more in. And because it's like the ground floor of a MOBA, everyone is kind of learning along the way. Of course, you're going to get your people that are like diehard League or Dota folks jumping in, or people that have some experience with a MOBA and kind of know the roles and the flow of the game. Like last hitting is a thing, right? That the tutorial doesn't teach you.
Okay.
The lane roles in terms of like you got to go top, you got to go bottom, or you are like the jungler of the team. to set up ganks and everything. That
Love the jungle.
Love the jungle. That doesn't properly get communicated. But I think this being so fast in terms of match length and kind of being very light on the traditional MOBA elements is a good mix for people that may have gotten tired of League or Dota, or people trying to get into that environment, you know?
Right.
And then having like the Pokemon as the characters, I think this is another example of when other companies are given the Pokemon ball or license to run with, they can do some really dope stuff. Because, you know, Game Freak has kind of just been doing the same thing repeatedly over and over again. But then, you know, Niantic had Pokemon Go, and look at what Pokemon Go is now. I feel it's a nightmare, just like this is for me.
Yeah. Right.
But I forget the exact count of characters, but they're all in like the different archetypes in a MOBA. So you'll have your ranged characters, your melee characters. Some are better suited for tanking, some are better suited for support. There's all-arounders and attackers. And it's a pretty good mix of Pokemon right out of the starting gate. And, you know, if you look on YouTube, you search Pokemon Unite, you'll see a bunch of people, different channels or whatever, making their tier lists, right? Like S through F and stuff. But honestly, I think as of right now, if you're just doing standard matches, you're just playing for fun, picking up a couple games, I honestly think any of the characters are completely viable, you know, once you get the flow of the game. And yeah, just like any other MOBA, like you're building up, so you're leveling up, killing creeps, taking on the towers as you go along. There's certain creeps.
Do you blow up the towers, or do you just score points when you dunk? Or does dunking destroy the tower, or does it need like 5 dunks to destroy it? Or
each tower has a different number of dunks needed to destroy it. And as you destroy those towers, like the enemy area kind of becomes smaller, because if you go too far into an enemy's territory and all their towers are still up, you will get slowed down. So it incentivizes you not to chase too far in. And also, you know, the enemies can heal up at their own friendly towers. So that encourages you to not chase too far in.
So what gives you the inroads in without getting slowed down? Because you said the creeps are kind of neutral, so it's not like you're like running with a creep wave to get in.
Yeah, so you're not.
Is it just like you have to endure that slowness when you've got the ball, or does the ball kind of mitigate the slowdown?
You're not the more balls you hold or whatever, it doesn't really inhibit your speed or whatever. It's just in the neutral area when you're not in your own zone or the enemy zone, everyone moves at the same speed.
Okay.
And you just take those balls to and then dunk them on the opposing side. And the only thing stopping you from doing that is the other team. So in League specifically, because I have more experience playing that, you can go a while before you actually interact with the enemy team, unless you're being a little brazen and you're diving in immediately. Here, you maybe like a minute into the game, like you can jump into encounters and really got if you overextend yourself, or if the other team is overextending themselves. And it's the frustrating part is that it's kind of limited in how you can communicate with your team. And since you're playing it on like 2 Joy-Cons or a Pro controller, the ping system isn't the best, because you're using the analog sticks for so many different things. A pro tip for folks at home is I would actually encourage you to go into the settings and jack up the frame rate, because I thought it was a docked versus handheld thing where it was only playing at 30 when you're playing handheld, but you can actually jack that up to 60. And there's also a bunch of different like auto aim options, right? Whether you're targeting a neutral creep or an enemy, or there's different buttons to focus specifically on hitting enemies versus hitting the neutral creeps. And like these games honestly can like swing really, really hard the other way. Like you could be getting decimated by the other team and they're just dunking on you. But similar to League or Dota, there are bigger monsters, bigger creeps that if you take those on, they'll give you an additional bonus. Like there's a little bit of a charge time to dunk. So if you're carrying like 10 plus balls, it's going to take you 2-3 seconds to dunk on the opposing team. If you have more of your teammates with you, it'll shorten that time. But for instance, two of the big things that can sway a game so far that folks are kind of upset about is if you take out the Zapdos. The Zapdos is like the big creep that'll spawn maybe in the last 3 minutes of the game.
Okay.
If you defeat that, there's no timer on any of the opposing towers, so you could just automatically dunk all your balls in. So if you're carrying 50, you could just dunk that in immediately. And I learned today from chat that in the final 2 minutes of the game, all of the points you score are all doubled. So that can incentivize
the freaking game show.
Yeah, you can hoard the balls. You can like really just be sneaky and like sneak in and really turn the tide in your team's favor. And some of the other scummy stuff that people have been
I feel like there's a lot of that.
There's a lot. Is that in ranked or even in the standard matches, this game really can become pay to win in that you're not only spending money to purchase specific characters. The game does a really good job at like slowly doling them out, and it does the thing that most MOBAs do where each day it'll rotate the active roster of like, hey, like these 2 or 3 are free for today. Tomorrow you'll get a different batch. But you can buy held items because each Pokemon can carry up to 3 items, and that's where the pay to win stuff becomes a factor because you can pay to level those up faster than you would if you're actively just playing the game normally. And those will affect your attack speed, your movement speed, whether or not you have like a friendly shield that pops up as you're playing. Where I'm at in like the ranked ladder right now, because it's still fairly early in some of the standard matches, it hasn't factored in too much. But I have seen like a bunch of complaints is like the further in you go, like the more frustrating this can get because folks are just
that's just straight up better stuff. Like that's just not even. That's not unlocking a character. That's just like, and so that's not something you level up in game per se. That just so is there a shop then that you're like buying things in game like a MOBA, but then just basically like the stuff you buy out of the shop might be way better because you've leveled it up with money.
Yeah, so it's pretty easy to just acquire most of the items. It's the leveling up of the specific item that can really bog you down if you're trying to be like a free to play player of the game. Because, geez, like I only have a little bit of a leg up because I spent $8, right? And I have the ability to level up some of my items, but seeing it now, if I were to start free to play, I don't think I could level up some of my items as much as I have. And like the game does a good job at like giving you some of the stuff so you at least have the item. It just won't be as effective as someone else that's dumped a bunch of stuff. And on top of that, you can there's a battle pass, right? You can buy the battle pass. There is like an energy tank system that acts like a loot box. So the more Aeon energy you get per match, you can throw that in to cash it in for like a loot box thing. But of course, there's items in the shop to not only boost the XP you gain for a match, boost the coins you get, boost the Aeon energy you get. They sell an option to like, hey, here's a ticket. It costs this much if you want to change your name or anything. And I think in my experience, if you just want to try the game and play it for a little bit, you can circumvent all of that.
Is it free?
It's free to play. It's free.
Okay.
Yeah. It's currently only out on Switch. There are plans to bring it to mobile. But let me tell y'all about this Cramorant. Cramorant.
What
is like?
What's a Cramorant?
Cram or rant?
Are you okay?
It's a lovely bird that just shoots other fish out of its mouth, and it just looks so unassuming. It's like this Pokemon, they got lazy with this design. It's just a bird, but
it just looks
bird,
like a crane or like a goose.
This bird is fantastic.
Is this a new Pokemon?
This is a Gen 8 Pokemon. Yes.
Okay.
Gen 8.
Snorlax.
I played a lot of like Graves, and I think her name was Caitlyn in League, and this is like an amalgamation of both those characters. Like,
Wait, there's a Pokemon just called Caitlyn.
oh no, in League of Legends.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
There's one, just Kimberly.
Yeah.
Caitlin's a ghost rat, and no.
But like I think this scratches like that weird itch, not necessarily because it is like the Pokemon IP, but like because I like playing League and I like playing Dota to an extent, but those games can go for so long, right? And
even like, like I didn't Heroes of the Storm try and shorten things up, and even that's just like that's just still too
30
much.
minutes or something, wasn't
I mean,
it?
there's Turbo Dota, but even then, those matches will still go to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because of the lack of any type of in-game chat or anything working in its favor so far. But one of the very off-putting things about League, Dota to a lesser extent, is a very toxic community.
Yeah,
and
I mean, you have to play with people. It's the worst part about most games.
Yeah, you have to play with people. And of course, because it's Pokemon, you're gonna be playing with a bunch of like kids, right? Younger players that may not know the flow of the game, or like, hey, I'll go to this Discord or look at this Google Doc to get like a lowdown of like the flow of the game, But in my experience,
kids
playing
love
with
Google Docs.
Kids love Google Docs. But like in my experience,
OneDrive, get fucked.
In my experience, it's been like a pretty welcoming community, and I think like folks are just generally excited because there's a giant influx of folks that don't play MOBAs that are now playing this, and they're like getting like that itch, getting that taste. This almost made me
gateway drug.
Yeah, it's a complete gateway drug for good or bad. And there is a roadmap to introduce more characters into the game. They've teased out some other items and stuff, and I hate that I like this a bunch because it's so solid. I remember when they like dropped this in like a Pokemon Direct or whatever it was, and I was thinking like, oh, that looks real dumb. That's gonna play real bad. League, Dota, really? And then, it came out, and then like I tried it out, and even in the tutorial, it's doing like a really good job at introducing these elements that even if diehard MOBA players will think it's like a baby MOBA, it still has a decent amount of depth, and I've still had a bunch of fun with it that I don't, other than like the pay to win elements, like I don't have that many complaints. And some of the complaints are just because I have to play it on a Joy-Con,
Right.
You sold me. I'm gonna give it a go.
You are. I feel like you're not warning people enough. I feel like you are. Like, hey, come on in, try this.
I feel like this podcast has a long history of warning people about the dangers of MOBAs.
Just talk to your doctor and see if Pokemon Unite is right for you. I feel like is the takeaway, especially. Like my kid was watching our Quick Look, Jan, and I was sort of like putting my hand over his eyes at the same time too. We're sort of like, no, not for you just yet.
Not for you.
He's a cautionary tale. It's like Brad and Dota. Jan and this game is now going to be the game that he's talks about wishing he wasn't playing for the next 4 years. Or Jeff and Phantasy Star.
I'm perfectly happy playing that. That's the super mega rappy pack that came with a bunch of great items when you purchase it for real money, and there's a lot of scratch tickets to get a lot of good costumes. And
don't make us do another intervention. Come on,
I don't have a problem. The only problem I have is that there's not enough content anymore, so I have to run this forest over and over again.
Another gripe though of the game is that this whole thing is based on scoring, right? Dunking on fools.
Yeah.
This game doesn't display the overall score at any point.
Oh, that's terrible.
What?
Which is so weird, right?
How do you know when you're winning?
Because the points don't matter. It's all about
no, the points all matter. The game will display these super generic and like off-putting of like, we're really struggling here when you're behind, or it's like we're way ahead.
Is this to stop people from quitting?
I think just so.
It's wild swings in tone though. Like you go from like this is a close match to you're getting fucked up right now, but
that's weird.
It's a little weird. But But man, like I after like that quick look, I was thinking of like, man, think of all the Pokemon they could add to this. There's literally hundreds of them.
I mean, why bother
yeah,
when they've already got Crustle?
Oh, dude. Yo, this sand crab will mess up your shit. Like, not only can he lock you down in a wall, but then like if he does like the X cut move where he's just like 3 forward dashes, done. Oh, much.
Little crab lobster thing.
The crab. No, that's those are corpish.
Chicken
Looks
lobster.
like a crab with a rock on its head.
Yep.
How many characters in it right now?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it's a good spread of stuff.
20 is it?
So, yeah, I was gonna say, like, is it 20? Is it 100? Like, you know, it's not 151, right? It's you know, but I'm more wondering, like, is it 10? Is it 30? Like, just some kind of rough.
20, yeah.
Okay.
And then a new one is coming tomorrow. You know.
Oh, jeez.
Mr. Mime's already in it, Jeff. So you're set.
I like Mr. Mime too.
Mr.
I like-
Mime.
Who's that
solid
dumbass
support.
shark? Not dumbass. It's just a knee-jerk reaction. He seems like a cool dude. I just didn't like the fact that he was wearing a snorkel. He's a shark.
There's a
Garchomp.
shark.
Garchomp.
Yeah.
Garchomp's like, oh, I better get my snorkel on to go snorkeling because I'm not a fucking shark. You're a shark.
got,
you don't need a snorkel.
They got that Poplio.
No Poplio yet. Poplio though, once it would become Primarina, solid support. I can already see it in my head. I can already see it.
So with a 10-minute game, like, is there like, does the concept of a hard carry exist? Like, do you have characters that come on strong in the last, like, what, 10 seconds or something? You know, like, what's the
Totally. Like my second main is Garchomp, the shark boy that the Bacalar is incensed about. And in the very like beginning of the game, until he evolves to at least his second stage evolution, borderline useless. Adorable, but useless. And like, in fact, just gets in the way. And you definitely need to feed that little shark boy. Like, if you were in a lane with that guy, don't let him be by himself. He needs a babysitter. But
Also,
then, like,
Garchomp has like maybe the coolest move I've ever heard. Garchomp's Unite move is called Livid Outrage.
Is that the name of your fucking band, Danny? In middle school?
yeah?
It's too good.
Love those guys.
But yeah, like if you can get a Gibble up to Garchomp, and like even if you're like I've like 1v3'd like folks solo dolo just as Garchomp, like once I get rolling. But like in the very beginning of the game, it's just miserable. But like, oh man, if you pair up with someone that knows the dealio and like knows like I gotta support this Gibble, they're gonna grow up and do amazing things for the team. Like you can just steamroll through folks. But there's also like characters that are like great in the beginning and kind of become useless at the end. So
With their evolves?
Yeah.
yes, some Pokemon will evolve.
Look at me. I'm doing all the lingo, man. I'm like, I've learned so much, dude. Like, here's the thing. I'm not joking. I am almost a 40-year-old man, yet I'm having this childlike introduction to Pokemon that I'm loving every like week of it because I get it. It's fun.
Yo,
I love it.
There's a lot of them.
Snorlax.
There's so many.
best
Slowbro?
tank ever. Best
Is that
tank
his
ever.
name? Slowbro?
Slowbro, yeah. Slowbro's tight.
Slowbro's in there?
Slowbro's in there.
Slowbro owns a head
Wigglytuff.
shop in
Wigglytuff
Pokemon
is in
Unite.
there.
Yeah.
Oh man.
They call it
Cotton.
the secret shop. All right. Well, Pokemon Unite's out now. It sounds like a deadly combination.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm gonna have to play some of this. I did download it, and I do want to. Whatever you get by hitting whatever buttons by the 31st or something, I should at least go get that character because that's
Zeraora, real hot right now.
That's a sexy looking horse. Is that the horse one?
What?
Or is that a different one?
Horse? Oh,
just-
Alolan Ninetales.
Alone on Ninetales. Yeah, baby.
Oh, dude, Alolan Ninetales. I don't want to talk about tiers, but like Alolan Ninetales, a good one. A+.
okay. All right.
Zeraora, nerf that shit.
It's a beautiful scene.
Why? I can't play this game. I need someone to put parental controls on my Switch.
That's yeah. I mean, it is kind of like a dark combo of. I mean, just as you. I mean, you're buying fewer Pokemon cards these days, right? So
No!
now you've got all this. Oh, okay, all right. Well then,
I just don't
guess
talk
you're
about
just
it as
fucked.
often.
Okay, I guess you're just
when I was
fucked.
at
I was gonna say you can
Man
just
of
funnel
many
that money
vices.
into buying better Blink Daggers or whatever the fuck a Pokemon Blink Dagger is.
I got
yeah.
an email today from the Pokemon company saying, "Hey, your order's shipping," and I'm like, "I placed an order for something."
I feel like I contributed. I took that photo at the boardwalk, and I was like, Jen, which ones do I buy?
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
Yeah. Darkness comes for us all.
Someone
But
save me.
there are counters to that darkness. There's light and fun and just goofing about, video games for the sake of video games. And I got this thing. I got a Playdate.
Ooh.
Look at that thing. It's got a crank.
It's got a
Crank?
crank.
It tells the time.
Tells the time.
Did you sync
What?
up and beep with that instead of time is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's I'm over here just doing this.
I think it's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's off. Yeah, all right, it's off by a couple
You
minutes.
gotta
I
crank
guess.
it. That's
Crank it
what
back,
you need
crank
to
it
do, brother.
I did not connect it to Wi-Fi, so I don't know if it auto sets time if you do that. So they're gonna they're opening pre-orders for these things this week. I guess it's what $179. This is from Panic, who published the Untitled Goose Game and the hottest Mac
Transmit?
FTP client you've ever used. Transmit, high quality
yeah.
software right there. And Coda if you're doing real work. Me, I just move the files around, so I only need Transmit. So they sent one of these over. This is pre-release. It's it's got 4 games on it, and I don't know if it's like final firmware or anything like that. And it's neat. That's like kind of the take on the Playdate. It's exactly kind of what you thought it would be. It's like a fun little toy. It's not the conversations that, like, someone in chat just said it. I'm gonna get a Steam Deck instead. Like that's not what this
Yeah.
is. This
It's
is like
very
a high end.
Yeah.
This is like a high end fun game and watch, or it's a
Right.
fun gadget. It's a cool gizmo. It's got games on it. There's an SDK so you can make games for yourself. But like, this isn't. You're not going like, well, is it as good as a Game Boy Color? Like, it's not that. They're gonna sell it, and you're gonna get the games. They doubled. They're like, hey, we're gonna put out a season of games, and originally I think they said that was 12 games, and at some point they said like, fuck it, it's 24.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And so you're
Turns
gonna
out you
get
could
those
do it
games.
in a night.
Yeah, they're gonna roll those out over time, and so like they will be delivered to your device on a schedule once the
From,
Playdate
like,
is out.
Kind of known developers, right? Like guest developers.
Exactly, yeah. So like Keita Takashi's doing a game, Bennett Foddy's doing a game. Like there's a wide range of developers. Zach Gage is doing a game. So there are names doing stuff for this, but it's a very simple device. It is a D-pad and 2 buttons, and then it's the crank, and then there's gyros also, I should say.
Oh,
in fact, there's
How's the battery life?
battery life is pretty good. Oh, this thing is loud. I need to turn it down. Battery life is pretty good. I have not like had like a marathon session with it, so haven't been like I played for 4 hours and then it was done, or anything like that. But
I mean, if it's displaying a clock in standby mode,
it
at
is,
least
yes.
it's-
And so
yeah,
it's like days and days of standby time, I think is probably what I would say.
Got that
And-
e-ink, whatever they call that, right?
Yeah, it's like a really good non-backlit screen. And so the thing
Right.
I kept doing is, I would get to the end of the day, the family would be asleep, and I'd be like, I guess my time now to play video games. Oh,
Time
right,
to
the
crank
Playdate. I haven't had time to play anything on this. Time to crank it.
Sick.
And then be like, oh, it's pitch black in this room. I can't do that. I can't actually.
right.
I can't actually do it.
Turn some lights on.
It's a really good, very sharp, non-backlit screen, and so it looks really nice, but it is not backlit. So like you kind of need to know that going in. But it's a very clear image. they've provided this and put 4 games on it, and then they were kind of like, hey, don't put up footage of the games, or this game can do it. This game, no. So there's kind of a weird variety of like can and can't. But like there's a media kit on the menu that will just have some logos and screenshots and stuff like that. So I mean, I'll say, like, holding this up to a webcam and having it be as sharp as it is still is actually, I'm pretty impressed by that.
How is it hefty? Does it feel?
It feels solid. It does not feel hollow. It feels like a solid object. It feels pretty good. It's got a good weight to it. It doesn't feel flimsy. The crank feels like a very solid object that might not break. I guess I won't say will not break, because who could say? Someone's going to break one, I'm sure. And the games are fun novelties. I think the one that I've had the two I'll kind of talk about is the title screen is not even on this. It's the Keita Takahashi game is. I need to look this up now to get the name of the game. I believe it is called Crankin', starring somebody. Yes. Hang on. I've got to go to the website to get the full name of this thing, because
saw there's also a game by Lucas Pope on this thing as well.
Yes.
Oberdin and Papers, Please.
Crankin's Time Travel Adventure.
It's good. Strong name.
And it's basically you turn you are a little Tin Man looking guy, and you've got here's the title screen for that.
Ooh.
Cool.
And the hook here is basically you are cranking it to move time. And that's actually the level select. But so as you move time forward, there are aspects of the game that do not move in sync with that time. Basically obstacles, or like, hey, there's a butterfly that if you hit it, you're going to die. And so it becomes like timing your movement, because he will bend down to sniff a flower, for example.
Cool.
And so you need to be bent down, sniffing the flower as the butterfly flies overhead, and then you need to crank as quickly as possible to get to the objective. And then you never get there in time, and the woman kicks you in the nuts, and you have to do it all over again because you're late for your date with her.
Sounds like a lot of these games have a certain kind of more than they appear complexity, right?
Like, that's the yes and no. I will say, like, of the 4 games, there's like there's kind of a game with a bunch of RPG trappings in terms of like dialogue windows and all this other stuff. But then when you get down to it, is you rotating a world to move a marble around to kind of change gravity and stuff like that. And that's a pretty neat one.
Cool.
And then one of the games, I'm just gonna look at the Whitewater Wipeout. Is a surfing game that is literally a clone of the surfing game from California Games. the classic Commodore 64 / Lynx. Those are the 2 versions I like. California Games. So, except you're going to the left instead of the right. Like, that's and so you are turning the crank to turn the surfboard. And so you turn the crank to angle up off the wave, and then you crank it as hard as you can to do fucking sick 540s, and then you have to line it up to land on the wave. And
cool.
It's fun. Like, none of these are games that I'm like have been like, this is a 10-hour epic. Like there's stuff that is, some of these games are longer than others and all that sort of stuff. But they're fun, they're quaint. You play them and you're like, this is really cool. This is a really awesome implementation of this thing, of this crank, of this. And I think, like, going into it with that of like, I want to see what these designers, some of whom are quite well known and renowned, and some of whom you may not have heard of. I want to see what different people do with this thing. And I think so far, just with the smattering of games that they've shown, they're showing that, it's a cool device. I think it's well made. but again, like there's people that are trying to look at this in context of like, is this going to be my next game platform? Like, fucking no. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's not. Like,
That's pretty obvious.
Yeah, they may go on to do another season of games. They may go on, there's an SDK, so maybe there will be a homebrew or development community that will pop up around the Playdate, and you'll have more people making more things for it that you can load on over USB or what have you. I think that potential is certainly there, but like I think people that are looking to make this pre-order should look at it as like, I'm going to buy this and it's going to play these games the same way, like the same way a Game and Watch plays one game. This will play 20 plus or whatever it is, and I think that's cool. I think it's a pretty rad little toy. I think people that are trying to have the like value conversation about it is like, but it's $180 and it's what's a Game Boy gonna do? Like they're missing the point of it. Is that it's the reason why they're making a dock that holds a pen, right? It's an executive toy.
Right.
It's a thing you could put on your desk and be like, I'm gonna crank it for a while, and then attach it back to the dock and then use the pen to write some things down, put some post-it notes on your monitor and that sort of stuff. Like it's like that. It's meant to be on your desk for like something for you to fiddle with. It's a super high-end fidget spinner.
Right. It's a
with
prestige item.
It's a prestige handle. Yeah. It's with really neat games. And again, like, it is also your opportunity to see like the next game from Lucas Pope and stuff like that. Like there's that attraction as well. And
yeah, like if you have the budget for like one handheld, like it's probably not this one.
Yeah,
but like also, I bet the resale on these would be pretty good. I bet if you managed to get one, you probably sell it for as much, maybe a year.
I wonder. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
So they're going to take pre-orders. Like the word from them is that they're not going to sell out of these. The idea is that they will just keep taking pre-orders and they will deliver them in waves.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
Cool.
It doesn't sound like you're guaranteed to get it in any timely fashion if you don't fall in the first order. But
what are they talking about with the timing? Like how far away are we? Because the Steam Deck stuff is like, so early next year, like this year kind of stuff, right?
Right. They said the first 20,000 orders will be fulfilled timely. And then after that, it's sort of like
20,000. Our factory is currently manufacturing our initial order for 20,000, and we will ship these units as they are received from the factory, some every week starting in late 2021. So similar timing to the Steam Deck, but yeah, they will have that first 20,000. It looks like they'll have that first 20,000 near the end of this year, and then after that, it'll be next year, and that they will provide more specific timing as they go. So
yeah. It'll find an audience, right? It won't be for like everyone, for sure. Like $180 for something that's only going to play these select little tiny experiences. That's not going to be like something that's attractive to folks that don't have that level of disposable income. But for tired, washed out older gamers who are interested in game design and stuff like that, this thing is like really.
I think they'll sell a good amount.
You know what I mean?
I think it's going to do just fine. I think there's an audience for this that will have the money for it. But it's not meant to be a competitive device with other platforms. At the end of the day, like it's just not. It's not playing in that same space.
Yeah, I assume they are paying all of the people. I hope. And just given the ethos around this thing, I assume they are paying all the people who worked on these games like a decent amount of money. Like this isn't a race to the bottom product or a product that's trying to get it in your hands so then it can sell you games, and maybe be sold at a loss. Like this is the thing. That's why it's going to be priced probably where it is, right? Because this is where they make the money that they have spent on the thing. Like there's no DLC for any of these games or selling.
Yeah, they're not selling the games. Like I said, like maybe down the line they will announce another season of games and they will sell access to that. Like there is account functionality built into the device in terms of like registering the device and doing firmware updates over Wi-Fi or over USB, like that sort of stuff. Like there is that aspect of it. So, at least you look at it, you're like, well, there's hooks in here for if they did want to sell another set of games down the line, they could probably do that. And again, like that SDK is just available or will be. It's not currently available.
Browser based? Is that what we said last time?
I believe, yeah.
SDK, yeah.
that stuff looks neat, for sure. But yeah, so there is always the opportunity that people will kind of make some fun stuff for this on their own on the side in a homebrew like fashion, and we'll see how that does. I mean, I look at stuff like there's like the Pico 8 community and some of the other weird devices out there that have sprung up as like, here's our fantasy handheld that you can just make games for it, and you're like, like 5 people did, and that's neat. I'm glad I have one of these because it's weird. And
then the rest of them were like, oh, well, I'm not going to make this for free. You can put this in season 2 of this, maybe. Like, why would I give it away for free?
Yeah, stuff like that. So, yeah, we'll see what they do down the line. But yeah,
feels good though?
I think the crank feels great. My daughter immediately was spinning the crank and running around with it, and I was like, "Put that down! Right. Don't! Oh, Jesus Christ! Don't!"
I almost feel like this will be a thing that stays in my car a lot. I just
don't
feel
get
like
your car broken into, man.
Well,
crank it in the car. Why not?
Yeah, I just feel like I don't know. I feel like it's something that I would just want to pick up every now and then, not while driving, of course, but just like to have it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Does it? Did it come with a case? I'm looking on the website. It has like a purple case.
It did not come with so I got pre-release packaging, all that other stuff. So it's not this is not the final version or anything like that. So I don't know what the final packaging will look like or what other stuff it'll come with. They just said like, here's a white box with a Playdate and a USB cable in it. I'm like, cool. So long term.
No cube.
No, they did not provide the dock as well.
I forgot about that. Man, it looks cool when it's in the dock. Jeez, it looks like a little CRT.
Yeah,
it's cool. I'm definitely gonna get one.
Yeah, it's super neat. And yeah, but I think it's one of those things like if you're the type of video game fan that this appeals to already. And I guess the thing I would say is, if you are already in that boat, what I've seen of it does not disappoint, and I think it will deliver. My guess is that it will deliver what you're looking for on that front, as long as you have those expectations in check in terms of like, hey, it's like a relatively simple handheld. It's just got a cool crank. It does neat stuff.
The pen that they're planning on releasing it with is that a pen to play games or just a pen?
It's just a pen.
Just an actual pen.
It's just
an actual pen. Is it?
It's just for writing. It's just for literally like because you put it on your desk and what if you need to write some notes while you're. It's just a pen.
Wow,
a nice pen. They say on the website.
They do say on the website that it is a nice pen. So yeah, I don't know. They're going to start pre-orders of that this week on Thursday. And yeah,
with that case, it looks like an SP a little bit.
It does.
Dude, I bought an SP last night. For reasons I'll talk about in the future. For
future
a thing
reasons.
I need to play. But yeah, I bought one off eBay last night.
They're not they're not cheap these days.
They're not cheap, dude. They're really if you want one that's like all kind of looks like it's had its day.
Yeah. I was gonna say if you just needed a GBA, I've got like 9 of them here. But
I should have asked last week.
Yeah. But you can't have my Pokemon Center GBA. It's too nice. I had to go to Japan to get that.
There's people making refurbs of the little Pikachu one. They used to sell. I think there's a bunch. There's like a good market for if you want to spend $200 on a Game Boy Advance SP. eBay has your back. There's a good aftermarket world there.
The micros are still going for like 200.
Micros. What? Micros. Oh my god.
The micros were too much for me, too much for my eyes. My eyes were too old for a micro.
Yeah. Jeez, we used to sell so many of those things in the GameStop. They just
maybe the first time I went like, oh, I need glasses.
They're so small. They're so small. You forget how small they are.
It's too small.
They're so small. If your hands are big, it looks ridiculous.
Yeah. No, it's that's the excuse I give all the time. It's like, no, I just got big hands. Let's talk about Death's Door, huh?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
This game, you play as the Crow.
Bruce Lee's son. Is that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Danny and Bacalar, you've both played some of this. Bacalar, you played it on the show. last week, beating that weird castle house boss
Beat a
thing.
hotel. Yeah.
You beat a giant hotel. Nice work. Have you messed with it anymore? It seems cool.
I have. I continue to enjoy that game a great deal. It is just sort of scratching that kind of itch of making slow progression, teaching me things about boss fights. It is a lot more. I was worried about accessibility. I thought I was going to hit a wall real quick with it, but I've slowly but surely sort of continued to make good progress. So it feels good. Yeah, everything about it, is a thing that I find myself wanting to go back to. There's usually I will hit a sort of wall where it's like, okay, I can bounce off this right now. And I've yet to do it. I'm about
Nice.
2 hours now playing with it, and I'm feeling it. I wonder. I still feel like I haven't gotten maybe a better view of like what the bigger sort of picture is, your relationship to the Reaper headquarters, and like what that grander sort of story it is that maybe they're trying to tell, what that might be. But I kind of don't care. I just like the gameplay enough. I like the enemies and sort of watching them flop around after I take one of them out, and those boss battles are pretty great. It's doing the thing for me. I'm into it for sure.
Nice. Danny, you've messed with it a little bit as well.
Yeah, it's really good. Backlog, do you have much experience with Soulsborne games?
Yeah, just turning them off is about.
Okay, great. Okay, well, this is, for those who don't know, this is one of those basically, but it's an isometric platformer. You play as a crow. It's very combat focused, like Bacala was saying, very like boss fight focused. It has a sort of like the look of it is, the world at least is almost more sort of eco-ish or like Last Guardian-ish in terms of like the sort of, you're doing a lot of like walking between areas. Combat happens in flurries. You have a ranged attack, melee attacks. There's different enemies, but it's all timing based. You've got like, three. I can get hit at the moment 4 times. I think I'm up to the second boss now, which is kind of like a witchy lady. But I don't think they'll, if it's wearing its Soulsborne-ness on its sleeve. I mean, the game is about collecting souls. This is the team that brought you Titan Souls back like in 2016 or whatever. Like, they are making a Soulsborne game. The bureaucratic place you start at the start, I suspect, works the same way that all of the sort of like the Doll does in Bloodborne, or the Nexus does in Demon Souls, where they're telling a sort of light story, but I doubt they'll wrap up everything in a tidy bow. It's the type of storytelling, at least in the Miyazaki games, is very like ethereal, and you sort of pick up on it. So it like almost to a fault, like this is almost too on the nose, but the gameplay itself is obviously like super different. The timing's fun. I think it's all about like learning patterns with the enemies, learning patterns with the bosses, but it's nowhere near as difficult as games.
Which is
in
why
that
I'm so
genre.
It's not like you're not like losing currency when you die or anything like that. Like, it's not necessarily.
Because I died on that castle once or twice, and the amount that I had never went down. Yeah, the souls. You have to. I'm having a little bit of trouble getting the upgrades. I've only ever afforded one of them, so I'm not sure if I have to go back and. Yeah,
I've noticed that like they are asking for a lot of currency for those upgrades. And after I did the first one, I didn't necessarily feel a big sort of tangible boost in my power. I did like the strength one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. I think there is something about, and the thing that I love about all the Soulsborne stuff that the thing I like about them, the reason I attempt to play them, are for the bosses. I love I love that idea of these like seemingly impossible bosses, and they're larger than life, and they feel so important. And like first running into that walking castle, I was just like, this is so cool. Like there is a level like I don't know what it is. I can't really there's just a certain barrier of like importance that these bosses feel like they sort of wear, that I just fall into, and I'm like, oh, that castle's got feet, and it's just sort of just walking. That's cool. Like they just feel larger than life. And
really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Totally,
unlike
totally.
and the big thing about a lot of the Soulsborne games, although they make games like Sekiro where the bosses are like legitimately bloody hard, it goes a bit off the rails. But like a lot of those, like Demon Souls especially, is that the setup of those bosses is they come across as way more intimidating than they actually are. Like,
Yeah.
And what I like about this game is that I don't think these bosses are intimidating. They still give the sort of like, wow, okay, we're fighting a boss moment. You've gone around the level, you've created a shortcut, and now here's the shortcut into the boss. You're probably going to die a couple of times. That's why there's a shortcut. But unlike Demon Souls, we'd have to spend 10 minutes to get back to the Tower Knight, and then once you get there, it's a huge hulking Tower Knight that's got all these effects, and the music is epic. This game, you're fighting a tall castle, but it doesn't feel, but the camera's up high, so it doesn't feel that intimidating, and the music is chill, and you feel powerful, but and it's not as difficult as well. But I think a lot of the intimidation factor that happens in a lot of Miyazaki games isn't here with this. It's way more fun, so it gets you to complete it or gets you to play more of it. I think it's a good gateway actually into these types of games, because you do still have to like do your timing right, Gateway.
Pokemon Unite guys like, huh? Gateway?
Yeah.
What?
Someone's got a little
Finally,
taste.
okay, yeah.
Huh?
Free cake? What?
A brand new gate. Hang on. Yeah, that I installed it and haven't given a look yet, but it does sound pretty awesome. Why don't we take a break and then we'll come back. We'll talk about some more games and then we'll get into the news. How about that?
All right.
Let's do it.
Ooh.
Let's do it. Mental health. You know what I mean? Mental health. Let's just say it out loud together. Where are you? Are you in your car? Are you in the shower? Just stand up. Don't stand up in your car. Just say it. Just wherever you are. Just say it with me. Mental health. It matters. We don't talk about it enough. There's a lot of people out there that are just struggling right now. And hey, therapy can help. It doesn't have to be just sitting around talking about your feelings. Therapy can kind of be whatever you are looking for, whatever you need it to be. You can privately talk to someone if you feel like you're not dealing well with stress or relationship issues, whatever's going on in your life. You don't need to be ashamed about it. These are normal human struggles. You start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. Check out BetterHelp. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't even have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It can be more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what therapy is really about. See if it's for you, because you are your greatest asset. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and the listeners can get 10% off their first month of BetterHelp.com/Bombcast. That's BetterHelp.com/Bombcast. 5 years ago, Felix Gray realized that our eyes were not meant to look at screens all day. So Felix Gray designed glasses to make daily screen time more comfortable and the workday more productive. Because now, more than ever, Americans are spending more time on computers, phones, tablets, TVs, so many other sources of blue light. And Felix Gray glasses are not like other blue light lenses. They filter 15 times more blue light that can make that screen time tough on eyes and disruptive to sleep. They've got non-prescription and prescription lenses available. You can check them out now at felixgrayglasses.com/bombcast. That's felixgrayglasses.com/bombcast. They sent a pair of these over. They're blue light glasses. You put them on, you look at the computer. The goal here is to, have less eye strain. You know what I mean? And they're stylish. They got a handful of different styles, at their disposal. You can kind of, look and see what other ones they got. These ones that they sent over are like a tortoise. That's the tortoise shell. That's a style of glasses, right? They got a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you've got nothing to lose but eye strain. And what other symptoms might you have had? You got sore, tired, burning, itching, watery eyes. You know, you got headaches, migraines, a sore shoulders and back and neck, and all the inability to focus, all this different stuff. Poor sleep and fatigue from all these LED bulbs going off in your dang face. Ugh. Forget about it with Felix Gray glasses. Get yourself a pair of glasses made for the 21st century and designed for modern, hard-working eyes. You have nothing to lose, except maybe eye strain. Go to felixgrayglasses.com/bombcast for the best blue light glasses on the market. That's FELIXGRAY glasses.com/bombcast. Free shipping, free returns, free exchanges. FelixGrayGlasses.com/bombcast. All right, we're back with some more games here. Intravenous, Danny, you played some of this. I spent some time looking at this, and I was like, this seems like a game I should probably play, though I wasn't sure if it was any good or not from looking at the trailers and stuff. So I'm glad you played it. What do you think?
Yes, I'm with you. It's one of those games where you're looking at it and being, okay, this looks very Hotline Miami. Is it just a shameful ripoff, or are they doing something interesting? It is the latter. This is a game. If you've never played Hotline Miami, it is a top-down. What would you call the art in a Hotline Miami? It's 16-bit. What is it?
Yeah, it's around there somewhere. Yeah. Like they're not necessarily nailing that 100%, but it's like post 16-bit, maybe a little bit.
Like higher detail than a Grand Theft Auto 1. It's sort of zoomed in, like one of those. Yeah. And it is very much like, the controls. I'm playing on PC. The controls are, they feel very similar. But in terms of the pacing, it could not, night and day. It's similar in that like there are sort of story vignettes that play out with little faces at the bottom of the screen while you're having this top-down view of the action. But the levels themselves are way more intentional and, at least in the experience I've had so far, quite stealthy. So you basically enter the first couple of levels are very, sort of story based about why you're put in this situation. It's sort of like a John Wick type of scenario where you are basically out for a grudge, that is something that happened to you that plays out in the early levels. And then when you enter a level, let's say, one of the earlier ones, you are selecting a sort of loadout, which can be anything from, silence pistol to go loud AK-47 to a gun that like shoots sleep darts, flashbangs, grenades, all that type of stuff. And the bosses, the enemies are smart. So unlike Hotline Miami, which is very arcadey, and I love those games, of course. If you alert somebody, the whole sort of base, as it were, is going to be activated. It reminds me of a lot of, sort of it's not like any of these games, but it has elements of like Splinter Cell, Metal Gear Solid, Project IGI, like any type of like base invasion thing where you're really trying to be quiet until you can't be quiet anymore. But the mechanics of the actual like taking someone down are like more detailed. So for instance, if I was coming up on somebody who was standing there, I could shoot them, I could melee them to knock them out, I could choke them out. Once they're on the ground, I can move their body. There are places to dump bodies. I can unload their weapon and take the ammo from it. I can finish them off and kill them if I've knocked them out. And so it's that sort of level of detail that you're going to constantly come up against. There's like walls you can go over. There's windows you can smash in and then climb through. So there's kind of like a strategic. It's not quite door kickers, but it's like you really have to plan what you're doing. So you're taking it way slower. And then the difficulty modes in the game, which are well sort of outlined at the start, there's 4 ways of playing it. In the one I'm playing, which is normal, you only have 5 saves per level to stop you from basically quick saving your way through it, right? So it's cool. It's neat. Like the music is there in the back. Again, it's wearing its Hotline Miami right on its sleeve, where the music is there, and then once sort of shit hits the fan, the music picks up, and then it's like go time, and you're shooting people. You can die quite easily, but it's cool. It's very strategic and tense. The other game that was reminding me of is, do you remember the old Commandos games? Those sort of isometric,
sure.
Kind of like that, where like the deeper you are in the level, the more you have to lose. So you're kind of being even more, genteel as you go around it. But it's cool. It's very slick. Like UI, the controls feel good. All the little, it's doing a lot, but I think it delivers all that information very well. Guns have multiple, firing modes. It looks cool. Like there's dynamic light in it, so if you open a door, light will shine in, your shadow will cast in, they might be able to see you, so all the light of sign. There's no like view cones on anyone. It also has a really good night vision, so you can hit a button and it'll straight up splinter cell, it's like splinter cell the whole screen up. So it's cool. Yeah, it's doing a lot, and it's doing it well.
Nice. I'll give it a go. That I can't remember the last time anyone brought up the video game Project IGI.
I'm going in, baby.
I'm going in. What a dumb name.
I know, it's a really stupid name. I think somebody's doing I think there's a fan remake of that or something going on. I remember a couple of months back seeing that and being like,
sure.
All right.
Sure. Why not?
Everyone has their favorite game.
Yeah, absolutely. That is their guilty treasure, and they're doing something about it, and good on them. Clan O'Connell, you've written here. Yeah. This document I'm looking at.
I'll mention it briefly just because I've only played maybe an hour or two of it. Just for anyone Irish who's listening, I guess, or anyone who's interested in Celtic mythology, there's a cool little... it's a platformer on Steam. I played it just because I was like, hey, nobody ever makes games about Irish myth. It's developed in Canada. There's probably a bunch of Irish people involved. I'll give it a go. But I've actually really been enjoying it. It's kind of a... it's a platformer where you are playing, you can hot swap between three characters. So kind of, I guess, Trine 3-ish in a way, maybe.
Like a Lost Vikings-ish sort of thing, or
exactly, yeah. You have like one of them is a tank, one of them's a sort of a soldier, and the other one's a lady with a bow, right? So they're all good for something. But and like it has the vibe when you're playing it, you're like, oh, this feels like a game that had a very low budget, and like maybe it's an early game for them, and isn't this novel? But actually, as I went through the levels, it started to get really like its ideas were very clever. Like the ways in which it sort of duplicated. You had to use like two characters at one time, or you had to fight this boss this way. I sort of went from being like, sympathetic to this game and being like, oh, isn't it good they made something cool, to, oh no, actually this has got something. This is pretty cool. So nice. I've been enjoying it. It's cheap enough on Steam, and it's got good reviews. Both those games have good, really high Steam reviews at the moment. So
nice.
Worth checking out.
Crown of the Stag.
That's the name.
Hey, speaking of guilty treasures, I just gotta say, dude, I don't know about you guys. I was blown away at that shit, man. Danny.
I don't want to, like Danny, you are like an inspiration when it comes to editing. It's just like, wow, you're so good.
I'm a one-trick pony. It's all I know how to do. It's just those types of videos. So
I want to party with you, Danny. I want to party with you so bad.
It's like, let me watch these timelines
in 4K.
The whole thing was produced in 4K. So once we get 4K on the site, we can export.
Never gonna happen. But also, like, so good, dude. So good.
Yeah,
Jeff picked a really good game.
That was I mean, at the start of that, there was definitely like, because I wasn't sure. Because I was thinking about it from a game footage perspective, and I was just like, look, this is a cool game, but it's just, are people going to look at this side-scrolling thing and be like, what the fuck are we doing? So there was a part of me that was like trying to think about like what would be something that like a little bit more modern, a little bit more visually dynamic, and all that sort of stuff. So like we almost played the Syndicate reboot instead, and maybe someday we'll just do that. Or maybe I'll just do that myself. I don't fucking need you, man. It's a hell of that's a hell of a game. They put out that remake, and I've actually gone back to that a little bit. It's a nice looking remake of that game. I don't necessarily love it the same way I love that original game, but it's still pretty cool.
It's got a look to it, yeah. Every game has like a way of getting into it. You know what I mean? Like there's always something. Like there's cool boxes, or there's like being able to compare the two games was cool. Like to be able to do a little sort of let's play of the first game and then play that first sort of level, so then other people even can see it. It's just cool to like if you spread out the history of the older you go back, the more is going on, because like either context changes the game, or the way we talk about games has changed, or there's always something interesting to talk about, especially with older games. So it's I got my work cut out for me for the next one. The next one is Rory. I will not say what game it is, but we went through about 20 games before we found the one, and even the one he landed on is like, okay, let's figure this one out. Yeah,
figure out a way to make that a reality. Yeah, no. So I didn't realize that Cybernator got a PS2 release until I watched the video yesterday, and I was like, what the fuck? So I went and acquired a copy of that and played a level and a half of it, and I was like, this is...
What's it like?
It's pretty rough. I don't know. It's like it's a 505 game street joint in Europe, if that means anything to you. Where
I know 505
games, yeah. But so before 505 was over here and trying to be like, no, we're 505 games. Like, my understanding is that they were just a straight up budget publisher over there for a good long time, and this has the look and feel of a game that probably did not come out at full price, and it's just is a weird thing.
Isn't it weird that it didn't come out first? But it didn't come out in North America, right?
No, it didn't. Yeah, but like,
that seems completely insane.
There probably wasn't a great venue for budget PS2 games at the time. So like there were late era PS2 and also late era PS1. A lot of those games that would be released as part of like the Simple series in Japan is like The Billiards and shit like that. A lot of that stuff started coming over in droves near the end of those consoles' life cycles. But like there was during that run, like I think Sony was probably even preventing some of that stuff from coming over at various times in those consoles' histories, because they were like, that doesn't, the same way you would hear the stories about like, like Sony is preventing sprite-based games from coming over to the US because they don't feel it makes the console look powerful enough. And
you guys
hear those stories.
Was it greatest hits? Because it was platinum in Europe, but you had the greatest hits. Was that PS2 as well?
Yeah, that was they went through. I think even on PS3 they still kind of kept that lineage going for. But like, that was budget.
Prestige. It wasn't just cheap. Yes. It was like these are good games.
Here's Ratchet and Clank. This game sold 1 million copies, and we're going to put it out again. Like it was that sort of thing. Player's choice sort of style thing. You also played a game called NBA Jam.
Speaking of videos, so
you got this out of that U-Haul truck without killing yourself. How did you?
Just about, dude.
We almost killed ourselves getting it in.
You see the yellow on my arm up there?
Oh,
I got
no! Shit, that's probably mine's healed already, but I had one on my wrist, and I was like, where did I get a weird bruise? It must have been from when we were loading that thing in. But
that thing was heavy. That was like no joke, and all heavy in one spot, which doesn't help at all. I recorded this too. I'll have a video on the site in August of the NBA Jam Cabinet Chronicles, the old Whiskey Media NBA Jam cabinet, which I acquired from you. It was hard to get it out of the truck. I literally slid it out the way we slid it in, but I put the ramp out. I just slid it down the ramp.
Oh, yeah, and then so it gets down to the ground, and then you can just stand it up, and perfect. That makes sense.
You can just stand it up if you're able to like deadlift 400 pounds, which I am not able to do. So we had a guy coming over to help with some construction stuff on the house, and I was like, dude, look, I'm sorry, like this isn't your job, but is there any chance you can help me pick this thing up? And he's like, yeah, okay, and we'll see how heavy it is. He almost picked it up on his own. He was just like, whoa, like easy, like just dude was built like a brick shithouse. So
the lifeguard story all over again.
I know,
exactly.
I was so happy to have that lifeguard, but it's been fun tweaking with like messing with the focus on it, and like the RGB settings on those monitors are literally like screws behind the tube that you have to like put a screwdriver in and tweak while it's on. It's like
don't touch and then there's the part of that, like the capacitors or whatever, that you could discharge into your body if you ram that screwdriver in the wrong spot.
It was something else. It was fun though. It was like it's been cool to tweak
it. Really
the red
fun to
on the monitor,
I
think is busted, but like you wouldn't have known that because you're
I can't see red anyway. So what the fuck, recap it.
Yeah, so I have to do all that
recapping it.
I'm excited to degaussing and do all that stuff.
Yeah, you can do that, and then just a fun thing to do that I have never done, but I love watching people do it, is to like take that screwdriver and put on a big glove or something and like join that gap to decharge, to get all the charge out of the monitor. It's a crazy loud pop. It's like, it's crazy how
What?
when those things go off. But like you need to discharge it so that you don't kill yourself touching it or moving it. Like if you gotta pull a CRT out and move it somewhere, like if you unplug that monitor, it's going to keep that charge for who knows how long, 10 minutes, half an hour. Like there's a number out there. I could look it up, but I don't trust it. Like it's always going to be a little bit different. And so you're always like, am I going to kill myself touching this? And so don't kill yourself touching this.
We're going to try and make Peter Brown do it for us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a
That
friend.
Blitz cabinet, the monitor on that thing went out and we were going to try to get Peter Brown to help us fix it. And then he responded by leaving the company, which
That's a
Smart
scary.
move, avoid it.
I had a friend who worked as a Mac genius, and he said whenever they got the old, because every once in a while someone would bring in one of those old Limax, the little CRT ones, and so they had. He said like the way of like, because anytime they opened one of those, they had to decharge them. So he said the way they did it was they literally had a big metal pipe and a pair of rubber gloves, and they would stand as far away as possible and just like go and hope it works.
The Apple pipe.
It's got to go somewhere. It's got to go somewhere, that charge.
yeah, it's rad. Arcade machines are rad and
deadly.
and,
That thing,
welcome.
dude,
I'm assuming by this time next year you'll own 9 machines. That's how it happened to me.
I swear to God, I said I will be happy with one of them. The minute I had this one, I was like, this is the best. I need more of them. I was playing NBA Jam. I think the best part of that game, I've gone in now and played like maybe 5 games every day since I've had it. It's just the most fun. The halftime in that game is the best part. It's when the music does the little sort of pitch shift, a little bridge.
Yeah.
It's like altitude with an attitude. It's just so hype. That game does hype every quarter so well. You can't not complete a game.
Definitely. Yeah. It's crazy how well made it is. Like you look back on it now, and like the funny thing is like the way Mark Turmel has like integrated aspects of that game into damn near everything he's worked on since. Like he did a Wizard of Oz match 3 game at Zynga, and you could be on fire in that.
Cast
Air
boom
Crow, don't do that.
shakalaka.
He owns the fire.
Yeah. So it's pretty incredible.
The sound test on it, you can just have it spam. It's the shoes. Or what's the one with the facial? You can do that one too.
Delivers the facial.
Delivers the facial. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a so it's I guess it's probably a derivative of MAME, but there's an emulator that just does sound, and so it will just ping sound codes into the ROM set and make sounds come out, and so you can build playlists once you realize which sound codes deliver which voice samples or music or whatever, and so it supports like 800 different games or whatever, so you can go into pinball machines and make it say all the Star Trek The Next Generation stuff and all that shit, and it's so much fun to go through that and just like listen to like, okay, I'm gonna piece together the Black Knight 2000 music now. I need the sound chip stuff, the instrumental music, but then we also need the sound samples of the people going beat the Black Knight, like all that shit, and then I need to assemble it all into one piece, or just load up the game in a proper emulator and just record it all at once and let the game sync it up. I guess is probably actually the right thing to do. Whatever. Arcade game audio, I could fucking talk about all those dumb samples all day. It's why it's part of why I needed to build a soundboard, was just like needing to have fucking
access.
Yes. Yeah. Just a reason to use some of that shit. As you've opened it up, that NBA Jam Tournament Edition board is still in there, right? Is there another board in there? Okay.
Yes,
I'm not sure if that one works. I don't know if you want to try and, you should just be able to slap the JAMA harness onto it and give it a go. But last time I did that,
how many things do you have to plug? Do you have to plug out just all of them, or just the one on the side?
I think it's just
the big black one that's along the side.
Yeah, I think it's just the big ribbon connector. Okay. If you move that over, well, you need because power comes on the JAMA. It might just be that. Yeah, I think it might just come all in.
That thing was full of things. It was the first thing I did, which Steve told me to do. Steve then told me to do was check for like mold and stuff like that. There was a bunch of silica packets in the bottom of it, which I'm guessing was to stop that.
Keep it dry.
So it's a little bit musky, but it's in good nick. And there's like website. He sent me a link to a website where you can just buy an entire new like if you wanted to re-graphic the whole thing or buy them individually. So there's one or two. I'm going to change it's the Game Station
control panel. Yeah, it's got that Game Station, that Blitz 2000 Showtime thing, Sports Station thing on there for sure.
But the buttons are all great.
Yeah.
Well, it works great. The monitor stuff I'll figure out. It's kind of fun. It's like a weird little project now. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, that's
boy,
awesome that
here
you're
we
up for it.
go.
Like that's always been my thing is I get stuff and then I'm never quite up for it, or I just like never quite make the time to take care of it the way it needs to be taken care of, and then I feel super bad about it, and it's just hook up that TE board and let me know, because if you can make it work, I'm curious.
What's the difference between the I'm trying to even remember what the difference was between
it's updated rosters. There's like a swim move or something. There's like I want to say there's some kind of double tap that will let you kind of swim past defenders on your way to the hoop, maybe
when they're doing the whole
Well, because
Like
the elbow thing was always in it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But there I think there's something like that. Yeah, in the push, of course.
Maybe new character codes too.
Yes, yeah, there probably are some new characters. You could also, if you really want to go down this rabbit hole, you should get an EEPROM burner and download the early MAME sets that still have Mortal Kombat characters in them before the NBA made them take them out. And then you can play with a Raiden head and some of that stuff. And
really go down the rabbit hole, Danny.
Yeah,
dude, you could like getting into the utilities and being able to like turn big head mode on, and you can like change the amount of money like this thing wants and all that shit. My favorite was the AI settings. They're called drones. It was drone difficulty.
Yeah. It's like a weird,
interesting,
like weird legacy, or just like that stuff's always fun to fuck around with.
So it's going to be a gateway for you potentially, Danny, huh?
Oh yeah.
What's the next game then? What's next? When you said I need another one of these, what was the first game that came to mind?
The first one that came to mind actually was because it's my wife's favorite, is the Simpsons one, which I'm wondering, would it work on this one? Because it's also a 4-player.
You might need different button wiring. Like there might be harness differences between a Konami game and the Midway harness. But JAMA is a pretty reasonable standard. So like you get past a certain year and it's just that you move that thing over to a different board and you're relatively good to go. It's only when you get beyond a certain number of buttons per player, or even it being a 4-player game might mean that there would be wiring differences, but I don't know for sure. What is it? Arcade-history, I believe. What is that? Yeah, the old. It used to be called the Killer List of Video Games, the KLOV. They will usually have. In fact, I'm just going to look it up right now because I'm already there.
Do it. Yeah. The other thing I'm thinking
there's a different pin out on the JAMA stuff, there's a game specific pin out, I guess, but it is still just a JAMA game, standard resolution, so the monitor should be fine. You might.
The other thing is
do it. I don't know.
I've been thinking about that, doing that MAME life, building that cab, so you can just kind of play whatever. Because at least do it once, at least have one of those, because I think that would get other people involved. Either that, or I just need to get my wife to really give a shit about MVHM.
Right. So I think, did they do it? Is there an arcade 1-up version of The Simpsons? I think there's one coming out.
Yes, they announced it maybe around E3.
Right.
But I think it's sold out or it's off the site at the moment. I'm not sure, because they did the Turtles one too, which I think is the same.
Right. Yeah,
and Street Fighter
that's similar. Yeah. So,
dude, you can buy an Outrun. They make an Outrun, like a sit down car.
Yeah, that's
Outrun
crazy.
for like $600 or something. It's crazy.
Yeah, I just feel like once you get into that type of emulated stuff, you might as well just build a MAME cabinet. And then for me, that then gets into, well, maybe I don't actually need the cabinet. Maybe I'm fine sitting in front of this computer and using an Xbox controller or the spinner controller I bought, which is great for driving games.
Wow.
And as well as your Arkanoids and Breakouts of the world.
You just want Game Room back.
Yeah, I mean, well, whatever. I don't need Game Room anymore. I never did. Even when it was coming out, I didn't need it. All those games were in MAME then. So it's, and the Mister is now another level of that rabbit hole in terms of, so, the guy, Mr. Add-ons that sells, MrAddons.com, that sells a lot of parts and Mister stuff. Like, he has a board that he's about to start selling that is a JAMA conversion for the Mister to wire it up to arcade cabinets.
Oh, right.
And have it kind of come right in a little more easily
cool.
than some of the other stuff.
Really cool.
And,
God, how crazy is this shit exists? And it's like two
Yeah.
people doing it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I hit a point where I was just like, just to have a catch-all for everything, I just went the MAME route and just now.
Did you get it pre-built or did you do it yourself?
The pre-built cab, but I put the whole like guts together of it.
Yeah.
And it's the easiest, probably it's definitely the easiest way to do it. I definitely should have. I feel like I'm very curious about Mr. stuff for sure. But like I've got the 4-player setup with like 6 buttons each player. It's got a trackball.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'm missing out is Gerstmann's slidey disc thing, which I'll find one eventually.
Yeah, I think that's always been the thing that's held me back on any kind of MAME cabinet or arcade controls or tank sticks or whatever you want to get into, is finding a panel that is actually good for everything. And by that, I mean, I don't like playing Mortal Kombat games with Street Fighter button layouts or Neo Geo games with Street Fighter button layouts. So, like, I'm never going to be able to have, like, here's my 5-button or my Mortal Kombat 6-button spread. Here's my Neo Geo 4-button in the right kind of angle that you want those 4 buttons to be in. And so, like, once it starts becoming those compromises, I find myself right back to, actually, an Xbox controller is fine too. If I'm gonna not hit the mark, then I might as well just miss it in a very convenient way. And it's like the best thing about the Mister. So, like, there were FPGA projects before the Mister, but the Mister was the one that had HDMI out, and so you didn't have to then go like, okay, and I need to get come out of this thing DVI or VGA, and then I need to go convert that somewhere. Like, it was just it's a convenient updated take on that type of project, and I think that's why it's been so popular, or part of why it's been so popular, is it's just convenient for people. All right, look, we could talk about this stuff all day long, and we will, but maybe today is not that day. So why don't we get into the news?
We've had too much fun. Let's get into some real shit.
I logged in like 4 quick games in Pokemon Unite while we were talking.
Oh shit! Yeah, you.
Actually.
Oh god!
Just one more, man. Just one more.
The state of California is suing Activision Blizzard in a doozy of a lawsuit, and they are. This is the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing, and Bloomberg had this story first, and there's been 10 different updates to it since last week when this was filed. And basically, the lawsuit is alleging that Activision Blizzard, this is from Polygon's version of the story that I'm looking at here, and its subsidiaries, including Blizzard, have allowed sexism and discrimination across the company. And the lawsuit is named J. Allen Brack, who's the current president of Blizzard, for knowing about and enabling the behavior. This is what the DFEH, the Department of Fair Employment and Housing, is claiming after a 2-year investigation into the company before they filed this lawsuit. So this includes them bringing findings to the company and saying, hey, you should fix this, and them basically allegedly not fixing it. So this is, let's see, women only account for 20% of Activision Blizzard's employees. Very few of them reach top roles. They earn less money than their male colleagues, trickling down through all positions at the company. A lot of very direct references to, let's see here, Alex Afrasiabi, I think is how that is pronounced, who was a senior creative director on World of Warcraft, hitting on female employees, saying he wanted to marry them, attempting to kiss them in plain view of other employees, all this other stuff. So basically like a long list of, and that's like kind of tip of the iceberg stuff. If people want to go read the rest of the lawsuit, it is available. And I just, before you go and do that, like this stuff gets into suicide and things of that nature as a result of some of the harassment, and goes some very dark directions. Like you've seen lawsuits similar to this or things like this alleged across the industry for a good long time. This one really plumbs the depths in ways that and that's the thing that I think that it's the reason why this has gained so much traction. I think, you have some people who are like, this happens, like this is fucking crazy. And Activision's response to this has been
pour some gasoline.
Well, it's two-faced in the way that like you would expect a company to react, where they have to say one thing to their employees that is like, hey, we acknowledge, let's work together to solve these issues and try to find a way forward. And then publicly, they've got to be like, this lawsuit is baseless. These are bureaucrats with an axe to grind. Like they sound like Vince McMahon in the steroid trial in 1993. And like it's that type of like, these government agents don't have anything better to do and all this other stuff, which like the employees are then taking is like, fucking like I witnessed this.
Yeah, right.
Like, what are you attempting to do? It's really crazy.
Yeah, nobody's head is on the block with this sort of stuff. There's just a constant like accountability, merry-go-round where HR is there to protect the execs from knowing about this stuff, or if they do know about it, to make it go away. That anyone who's in middle management who gets caught being a absolute dirtbag gets a slap on the wrist, because it's easier to silence the person at the bottom of the rung than it is to upset the people there. They've been working together for so long. They're friends with it's just that same merry-go-round of corporate allowance of this type of behavior. And then this is just the latest version where it's a bunch of people who have, adopted their roles in these companies, new executives or new EPs or new owners from the buyers, and they don't give a shit either. They just want this to go away as well. And there's no accountability there either. Well, until recently, where it looks like some of the, this is why HR is not your friend, and unions in a country where you do have such poor workers' rights as the States, especially in California, and that will employment place. This is where you do need to have unions come in and lay some pressure and have some accountability, because clearly the culture currently doesn't have it.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And let's see here. So Activision, back when this first kind of broke, Activision then, so part of their statement here is like, DFAH includes distorted and in many cases false descriptions of Blizzard's past. We have been extremely cooperative throughout their investigation, including providing them with extensive data and ample documentation. But they refused to inform us which issues they perceived. They were required by law to adequately investigate good faith, and so on and so forth. So it's the picture they paint is not the Blizzard workplace of today, and so that's a
Admission
weird
of guilt.
That's kind of like,
that's what that is. Like,
Yeah.
Shareholders, man.
You
can't
that
just spend money on
HR
this.
comment is so on the nose. I feel like everyone has learned that lesson one way or another, where it's like, that is not the thing you think it is entering the workforce.
No, they are there to prevent the company from being sued. I mean, that's the thing, the versions of sexual harassment training you take at, I guess I will say, a company I have worked for in the past. There are two versions of that. There's the employee version of that, and there's the manager version of that. And the manager version of that is hey, you could be dragged into a lawsuit too, so it's in your best interest to not get the, and it's all in the interest of like, point this out when you see it, because it's serious stuff. And I don't want to make it sound like, they only care about not getting the company sued. because there's also an aspect of it of like the morale drain, the brain drain, if you permit this type of company culture to persist, is real. It's not just, you can't write all the, well, it's only the women who, like, no, this is something that impacts everyone in the workplace. This type of discrimination, like it is a cancer on an organization. And like, that's the part that I look at and go like, just on a pure like shareholder value level, if you be as cold as you could fucking be on this, it's still in Activision's best interest to not allow this type of bullshit to go on, because it interferes with their mission of making money.
Yeah.
And so like that's the on top of all the, but obviously like the reality of it, the human cost on this is incredibly real and fucking tragic.
Yeah, there are like multiple systemic failures going on here. Obviously, women in the workplace have specific systemic problems that I feel like a lot of us are sort of like coming to understand, that are specific to them. It's the same case for, underqualified people in jobs, people who don't have college degrees. They have their own set, or maybe there's an overlap as well if they're in both camps. Trans people have their own. But like this whole, I feel like the solidarity here is the important part. Is that oftentimes when these things come up, you say like, oh, well, that's that type of problem, or that's this type of problem, or it's this. It's all the same fucking problem. It's companies not really wanting to deal with any of this sort of stuff and being permitted to put stuff under the rug in a way that they don't have to be, and they're not sometimes in other countries or in other industries. You know what I mean? Where these protections exist.
Yes. So I guess I try to keep it on some kind of timeline here. The initial allegations and Activision's response then led to a lot of ex-Blizzard people issuing statements. I believe Chris Metzen had something out there. Mike Morhaime, who left in 2018, had a full statement saying, "I'm ashamed. It feels like everything I thought I stood for has been washed away." So he left in 2018. This investigation, they say, took 2 years, which would put us in 2019. I remember having a conversation back around the time he left that was like someone, it was like one of those third-hand conversations where someone just kind of offhand said like, he's leaving because there's some shit coming their way. Along these lines. And at the time you're like, well, I've nothing to do with that, because that's like a fourth-hand statement, and how do you even track that down for a news story or whatever? Then seeing this happen, like maybe that timeline doesn't quite line up if he's out in 2018 and the investigation started in 2019, but at the same time, these are long-standing systemic issues in that organization, and you start to wonder, did these people get out because they knew that their time was coming, right? That they were going to take they were going to take this hit, and if they ended up here when this lawsuit or when this investigation started or ended or whatever, that they were going to be implicated in a much more direct way than they have been instead. And I don't know, like, it's not me. I'm not trying to allege anything there, because like, I don't know, but like, obviously these issues go back a lot longer than 2019. This isn't something that just started happening at Blizzard.
And all companies are like different in the way they're set up, and I'm in the same position as you. I don't know anything really. You hear things about every studio, and not every studio, but lots of studios, and some of them, each individual one you sort of have to take within its own context. But when you look at the success story of Blizzard, you can see it as a petri dish for this type of mismanagement, because it's essentially a company where a lot of young, mostly men, became very successful very quickly, where they had a culture of hiring fans who would do anything to work for this place, with long-running franchises with deep roots, a lot of money coming in from multiple sources. You can see a world in which perhaps it grew and became that type of place that wasn't, where the middle management part of this was not, kosher, where it wasn't being done responsibly. A lot of those people have only left in the past, like kind of post Activision, right? Like Metzen left and Morhaime left, and and whenever I interviewed those folks there, you also got the sense that there was sort of different department frats, different like cultures within Blizzard as well. There was that team and this team and this team, and I want to be on that team and I want to be on this team. This is the team you don't want to be part of. This is the team that's really cool, making really cool stuff. Like the Overwatch people, when you interviewed them, they all seem to be super like engaged and excited, and seemed like there was a decent culture there. But it's just like I'm not overly surprised to hear any of this when when you look at the history of the studio.
Yeah, you can start to see like how this sort of thing could happen for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess a lot of this lawsuit is limited to Blizzard, but obviously the fallout is impacting the entire company. This at the time of initial reporting, it was that over 1,000 Activision Blizzard employees had signed a letter condemning the company's response to the allegations. This is from Kotaku. They have since updated that story to say that there are now over 2,000 people signed on that petition. Some of them are former employees, but I believe I saw some folks saying that there was maybe around 1,600 current. And so that's then you've got, and that was I believe Uppercut Crit reported. Oh no, I'm sorry. Uppercut Crit reported the some of the details of an all hands meeting, where it seems like the response internally from Activision was around the idea of using internal systems to handle these situations, which if that worked, they wouldn't be in this position, right? If the internal systems worked to root out this type of thing and prevent it from taking hold, then they wouldn't be at this point. So that sounds like something that they are maybe trying to throw out there to prevent people from unionizing. And now a walkout has been scheduled for tomorrow, from the looks of things, for Activision Blizzard King employees to walk out. You had a report from someone on the World of Warcraft team basically saying no work is being done on the game right now because everyone is just looking at things and going like, how do we move forward with this? And it's easy to say like, oh, everyone must have known, but like this stuff does still happen under some shadow. It is not always out in the open to every single person at an organization that this organization is that way. You have people that might never hear these rumors, might never hear this discussion, might not know why someone left the company until they have some, and especially over the last year plus, where a lot of people are working from home, like those water cooler conversations are not happening. But also people aren't in close proximity, which is probably maybe a good thing too.
Yeah, and the nature of this stuff as well is that like it's very difficult for people to break their silence over this stuff. And also a lot of especially guys, I feel like just don't want to know. You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't want to know, because if you know, then you have to do something about it. So there's like this insipid sort of, that whole thing.
And that is also like part of the training for this stuff that I have gone through, and I assume most employees at most like modern organizations are put through similar things. It is that onus of responsibility. If you know about a thing and you didn't take action on it, that is super fucking bad. If you're in a managerial, if you're in a leadership position at a company and you saw this stuff happening and you deliberately tried to not know or deliberately tried to look the other way, like that is not something you are supposed to be able to get away with either. And so, like you said, multiple systemic failures across the organization from the sounds of this. And Activision is still out there, trying to damage control this externally. I saw someone in the chat. I normally like to look at this sort of stuff, but someone said that Activision stock was down. Who knows? I don't know. They're down 6 points today, almost 7%.
Also calling for Frances Townsend, everyone's favorite Bush administration public-facing figure, to step down as well for her comment. I think she was I think she was that main comment from the public-facing one from Activision was from her desk, I think. Or one of them.
She's there in a corporate compliance role. Is that what it is? I believe.
Right.
So, yeah, that's it would make sense that you would find a home at Activision, given the Activision leadership. So this is ongoing, and I don't necessarily. I guess I mean that in the Activision sense, but also this is still an ongoing problem. Obviously, like the Ubisoft stuff has been kicking around for a lot of the last year now, and if anything, like they have gotten pretty good at not talking about it, even as that stuff continues to have fallout. And it's an ongoing problem. That is not something that is going to go away overnight. I don't care what happens to this Activision lawsuit. It's not going to fix this industry wide. So
yeah, how do you fix this without fixing the way in which companies make money and are valued, and especially in games where people will do like I was lucky that like I might have had problems in companies I've worked for in games, but it was never that bad. But if I would have done anything to work in this industry, right? Like if it was like, just think how manipulable people are. So if you want to work in games development and then you land your dream job and then this sort of stuff happens, like, what do you do? Like,
what do you do? Yeah. Or especially like, I've moved across country. I don't know anyone except for my coworkers. Yeah.
Right.
Like
who I'm going to, you're basically going against the team in many ways.
Right.
So
yeah,
change what the team is.
And I see, you could see people being like, well, I don't want to rock the boat. It's already hard enough to make this game anyway. And we've got such a camaraderie and we're working 20 hours a day on crunch. So I don't, unions are probably a start here, but even they're not going to be some magic bullet, but it at least it's the sort of thing that would give employees some power in these sorts of situations, some representation in these sort of situations. So it doesn't necessarily have to be them having these conversations alone. A union rep can come help with that. And yeah, again, like, I just, for me, like the extra part of this is just like, again, none of this is good for Activision. Like the idea of like defending this and trying to like,
right.
Like that doesn't help them make better games. It doesn't help them retain talent. Like Blizzard already had a problem seemingly, with some aspects of that. So, like it's,
I mean, this happens unfortunately, we find that it happens in every corporation. It's widespread. It's a disease that's widespread. So it's, in my opinion, it is increasing the rights of employees. Like the more that you empower people to not be put into situations where they feel powerless and make bad decisions based off that, it is a predatory relationship that corporations have with employees, and that's
and it's not,
and that festers the worst sort of culture.
And I agree with you that it is a disease insofar that it is something that we should eradicate. But I think also when we talk about it in those terms, we give it this sort of idea that it is the exception to the rule, and it's like, no, this is what has been built. This is how corporations work. This is the point, was to minimize the power or individualism of individual employees. Collective bargaining works because it gives power to people who are powerless because of that system. So it's that is why, like you said, it is everywhere, because that's the world in which we have built around us.
It would be a really fascinating turn of events if, after years of flirting with unionization in games and workers talking about it and thinking about it, that if Activision ended up being the place where that finally took hold.
Yeah.
That'll be
I suspect we will see a lot of anti-union aggressive policies coming from them now, I suspect.
Yeah. They'll see like, what does the Amazon playbook look like for this, for burying this? Fake ballot boxes? Great. Can we get some of those? Like, yeah, that's Activision seems like a company that would definitely get into that sort of thing.
We'll wait and see.
Yeah. So, what else is going on? Speaking of Amazon, They put out they've got their MMO is coming soon.
Oh, yeah.
New World. They ran a beta for this a while back. I played some of it. It seemed okay. It was a game I came away saying like, I would look at more of this once it is a little more ready to go. And it's a good thing I didn't, because for a while there it was melting 3090s.
Sure.
Oh boy, like actually, like, oh god,
Like bricking video cards. Specifically EVGA branded cards seem to be the ones running into this issue. And it seems to have been traced back to an uncapped frame rate on the game's menu. So because the game's menu is very simple and a 3090 is a 3090, it will attempt to render that menu at thousands of frames per second behind the scenes, which is then just going to spin it to the point where it breaks.
that's crazy. How is there not some sort of process that's stopping that from happening? Like
So it's a closed beta. Like maybe they haven't done their full compatibility testing at this point, but the game is, I believe, due out in about a month.
Even on the driver's
and-
side, oh my god.
Yeah,
that's
right.
crazy.
Yes,
Yeah, that's-
some sort of
that's what
stopgap,
I'm
some kind of kill
surprised at,
switch on the Nvidia side to be like,
pull the parachute.
What was the frame rate? I want to know what the frame rate was now.
right, exactly. Frames win games is what they say. So, so that story kind of overshadowed my interest in New World. It sounds like they have fixed it, but is that something I want to try to do?
Roll the dice, Jeff.
Maybe let that one marinate a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm actually at this point, I don't even think I have an EVGA card. And it sounds like those are the cards that were having the issues here.
Oh my
So
God.
EVGA has launched a program to replace. They have a drop down on their RMA menu that just is like New World.
Oh no.
And so they are going to cross ship replacements to people, and sounds like that program is already ongoing. So if you broke your video card playing their closed beta, you've got a method to get that replaced.
Just got to wait 12 months for them to get you a new one.
It sounds like they've got them relatively in hand, that they are like cross shipping this stuff relatively quickly at least. So congrats to New World for exposing a flaw in these graphics cards. I mean, this would have happened sooner or later. It's like a red ring situation.
True.
No, I don't know. I don't know. That's
Video
That's a
game
crazy
menus, man. What is going on? It's like
Who would have
that.
thought?
Remember,
Who would have thought?
remember all the PUBG stuff with their menu, where it was just
Yep.
because it was in a browser. Like, who knew game
Yep.
menus were the darkness of our?
I was playing PUBG, and at the time I had not. So I have to pay extra money to pay past my data cap.
Okay.
And I had upgraded my package, and as you do, and as a part of that, they removed my cap, my cap payment. So I had a cap again because they had forgotten to apply it. And the month that was the month that I was playing a ton of PUBG and all this other stuff. And because that thing's a browser, I was using my ISP's DNS, which allows them to inject messages into web pages, such as you are approaching the limit on your cap. And so I was loading up PUBG, and the whole thing broke, and I couldn't hit the play button. And then suddenly this like busted message was like, "Hey, Xfinity here. We're
dark.
total pieces of shit." And they're like, "Oh, I need to change my DNS right fucking now. What the fuck is this? You cannot be allowed to do that to me." And then I called back and said, "But I'll still give you an extra $50 a month. Like, you motherfuckers."
It worked. I need those drops. I need those crates.
I've got to get the crates. I have my yellow tracksuit still from back in the day. That's what more do you need?
Makes you hard to see. Yeah, in the forest.
Yeah, exactly. EA had an event. They announced that Dead Space remake that we had been talking about for a bit, and it was a very brief look at it. That hey, that's cool. It's they should make Dead Space. The Dino Ignacio, who is a former GameSpot video person, who went on to work on the original Dead Space and all that stuff before he was at Oculus for a while. I think he's at Roblox now. He mentioned on Twitter that he has been consulting on this for a while, and he's an original Dead Space like UI guy.
Oh, nice. Man, the UI in that game was so good. That was one of those first
Yeah.
games that did the what do you
Yeah.
call it when it's in the world, in the it's like, oh god, I forget.
Oh,
Is it diegetic? Is like the same
Yes,
as audio? Is
diegetic.
it the same diegetic? The same word they use for it, yeah.
Diegetic menu, right? Because the health bar was on the suit, right, and the
Yeah.
gun ammo was there. Yeah, God, that game.
Yeah.
Dino's so cool too, though. Man,
Yeah, Dino is one of the coolest motherfuckers around.
I want to be like that guy.
He made the
Cool ass
bird is
name.
evil stuff. That was him. Also, on top of everything, yeah, he's done all kinds of cool shit. And they announced the third pillar of Battlefield 2042, the Portal mode. This seems
The
kind of
best
rad.
filler. Yeah.
Yeah,
it does. It does.
This so looking at the press release they put out for this sounds more and more like the Halo custom game stuff, in that you get a lot of control over what units and what items and what sort of stuff you're gonna do, or what sort of stuff you have at your disposal. They're bringing in some maps from older Battlefields, weapons and soldiers from older Battlefield games. You can play as like World War II guys versus 2042 guys. Or Battlefield 4 guys, or or Bad Company 2 maps, and all this other stuff kind of coming together in a way that looks super fun.
Yeah, I'm into it. It seems like they are not too serious. Not that they were. I don't know if they were overly serious. I guess maybe Battlefield 1 was getting a bit serious, but they have ripped off the Band-Aid with this one, and just they're playing with it. I like the idea.
That was always
of,
the very incongruous thing about Battlefield. Like with Battlefield 1, they tried to make a much more serious looking game and all this other stuff, but they've always tried to market around, or recently anyway, around the Battlefield moment of like, look at this crazy shit I did. So like having the 2042 trailer be like, here's a guy jumping out of a jet, blowing up another jet, and then landing in his jet again, is like a great example of that type of Battlefield moment. And they should lean into that more and more, because the ridiculousness. The most fun I had with Battlefield, I think, aside from it was two prongs of Battlefield 2, which I took pretty seriously for a while and got to be pretty decent at, and then Battlefield 4, which that was the one that would launched alongside the PS4, right?
Yeah,
4 would have been So like when those console versions launched and after they got patched and worked, like just fucking driving around with friends being total idiots. Just like, we're a squad, we're going to go in this direction and see what happens. Like that was always super fun. So like, I don't know, like having this game mode like layer on some more ridiculousness to things, I think is definitely what those last couple of games have been missing. And it's good to see them try to make it fun again.
Yeah, I mean, it is the move to give people the resources and the sandbox to make the things that will sell themselves, right? Like, it seems like to give out that palette and then just be like, all right, go do what you do, you little freaks. Like,
yeah, they should. I mean, like they should like, go an extra level of just like, hey, we've programmed in an animated GIF creator into this, so you can easily share the dumbest things you make and do, and
we're there for sure.
Yeah. Splitgate. We talked a little bit about it last week. I played some more of Splitgate. This game
what you make
originally.
of it?
It's neat. I don't know. I played some of it in 2019, and it still seems like that. But I guess it's come a long way since then. I think it's a better looking game, and they've definitely modernized it in terms of it's got a battle pass now, and they have found the way to put out a free to play shooter in the year 2021. But they're not putting out tomorrow, which is what they originally planned to do, because it has taken off. The game hit consoles and is still in a beta state, and it's crossplay and all that other stuff. And this is weird to me because I played this game a while ago and was like, it's neat. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's another shooter that no one is playing, and that's kind of a bummer, but this is like a cool idea. And then they put it out on consoles and had this like refresh or whatever, and it fucking blew up. They've had over 2 million people play it. Their servers, they even say like our database, which we made in Redis, only can hold 65,000 or whatever, lines in it. And so that's our limit on concurrent connections. We've built a queue. But before we launch for real, we need to fix that and make sure that more people can play the game. And so they're looking to enhance server capacity. They went out and fucking raised $10 million.
Whoa.
Yeah.
This is like, I guess the game's doing well. And they have pushed that full launch back a month. It'll launch in August now. And some of the content that was meant for that launch will still hit. They're going to put out some additional maps and stuff in the meantime. Splitgate, who would have thought?
Good for that team.
Yeah.
It's wild. Yeah, it was the same thing I felt when I went back and played it. I was like, oh, I don't know why, but this feels more fun. Like, I don't know what happened between the 2 years, because if you showed me them side by side, it seems like a very similar game, but there's just something about the presentation, or I don't know what it is, or the shooting. They did something, and it's just more snackable now,
Is it possible that the thing they did is put in bots, and the first handful of matches that you play is against bots? And so when I went back in to play it, I got like the achievement for like a 10 kill streak and all this other stuff. And I sat and looked at it for a while. I was like, I don't think these are people, man. I think these are shadow bots. These are like when PUBG added that stuff, and all these games added like fake players to your first handful of matches to try to get you to think like, I'm having a great time. I'm so good at this. I can't believe it.
I think last week, didn't I say, like, I don't know what it is about this game, but I feel like I'm like tearing people apart in it, and it has gotten harder. So I figured I was like getting matched with people who are better. But actually, now that you mentioned it, I would not be surprised, because they seem to not know what to do at the portals in a way that was like, all right. I guess I'm the portal whiz kid.
Right. Yeah. I'm the only one who knows to shoot through the portal and get them. But so that was when I first played the first match I played, and I was just ripping people up. I was like, oh, well, it's got crossplay, so maybe these console players have no idea what they're doing or whatever. But then I was like, well, I'll play with a gamepad. I was like, these portal controls are pretty intuitive. Like it's not that hard to, like, you could do that. It's just So seems like maybe they're doing a little bit of that. We'll see. Bogart in the chat says, pretty skeptical in the long-term success, but wish him the best. Like, I think I'm in the same boat of like, this game's neat. I don't know that I'm like head over heels on its art style or that sort of stuff. It's a neat trick with the portals. And I don't know. I wonder how it'll do. I wonder. But 2 million, nothing to fucking sneeze at. Like they've found a player base for sure.
That's the folks I said. I think they're over in Tahoe on the Nevada side.
Right. Yeah. Was it 1047 Games, I think is the name of it? Yeah. I might have the number wrong, but all right. Well, that's going to do it for news. Why don't we take another break, and we'll come back and get into those emails after this. Ears. They're like fingers, if you think about it. No two are alike. Forget about fingerprints. Let's talk about ear prints. Your ear is going to be a different shape than the next person's ear. And that's why earbuds might cause you a little discomfort or even physical pain after wearing them for a while. So Ultimate Ears, people over at Ultimate Ears, the Ultimate Ears people, if you will, have come up with the Ultimate Ears Fits True Wireless Custom Fit Earbuds from Ultimate Ears. And they're here to change all that. It's, these are Bluetooth earbuds that you will custom fit to your own individual ears. You can, in the app, take photos of your ears, but that is not required. You're not sending photos of your ears to people to make this happen, like some manufacturers may want you to do. This is all about a molding experience. So you put them in your ears, and then you tether it to your phone, and then you launch the app, and the app is like, are you ready to do this? And you're like, all right, I'm gonna strap in, I'm ready to do this. And then they heat them up. The earbuds heat up. There's a glowing glow, and they will heat up and in a one-time fashion mold to fit your ears. And, they will gently warm up as the light hardens them to fit the shape of your ears just so. And then from there, ideally, you've got earbuds that fit, that stay in your ears, that create a nice tight seal so that they sound good, all that other stuff. Ultimate Ears Fits is a guaranteed perfect fit in 60 seconds. So that, yeah, they'll stay put when you're on the go, but feel comfortable so you can wear them all day long without pain or discomfort. Using this groundbreaking light form technology, they'll mold to those unique contours of your ear with purple LEDs. But you know, it's about more than the molding, right? You're gonna do that once and then ideally they just fit and you're good to go, right? What else, right? Okay, how about 8 hours of continuous playback on a single charge and up to 20 hours of charge in the charging case? The idea is you can listen to your favorite shows like this one, or music all day long. This is built on industry-leading expertise trusted by pro musicians and hi-fi enthusiasts for over 25 years. If you try Fits and you don't like them, hey, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. Plus, you get free shipping, free returns, and a 1-year warranty. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your pair of Ultimate Ears Fits true wireless earbuds at ue.com/fits. Just use promo code BOMB at checkout. That's 15% off with promo code BOMB at ue.com/fits. Now it's time to clench your fists and get ready to punch out some emails. Bombcast@giantbomb.com is the email address to send your emails to. That one at the proper pitch. Emails deserve the proper pitch.
Proper pitch.
That's right. So these are not vaporwave emails. Send your vaporwave emails to,
I'll take them.
Let's see here. I'm going to start with this one from Ben in Boston, who asks, is the feeding frenzy good? All the consolidation in the games industry lately has had different reactions. Some argue that it leads to fewer new ideas and less interesting games. Sean Layden recently said that consolidation is the enemy of diversity. In some ways, it takes a lot of playing pieces off the table as they grow into these larger conglomerates. And again, we end up with this problem with diversity. I think he means that in the sense of like diversity of games, not necessarily diversity. Yeah. On the other hand, some argue that this is an inevitable natural market movement that creates more stability for smaller studios and lets them make the games they want. Tim Schafer said, I think it's perfect for us because we can just focus on doing our inspired weird games and not worry about how we're going to get our next deal. We aren't chasing down our next funding and thinking about how many more months of funding we have all the time. I'm sure there's truth to both, but what's your overall thought?
Yeah, I feel like it's different for each company and each acquisition. Yeah. I think the frenzy that's happening now, from a sort of a macro level, I can see why people get worried that all those mid-tier studios are sort of disappearing again. But yeah, like Schafer, for instance, like those guys are probably pretty tired of doing business meetings after 20 years of trying to fund that thing and keep the wheels on the wagon. But like, I don't think we're in look around. Like, does it look like there's not that many types of games coming out? I feel like a lot of the companies that are getting acquired because they're known quantities, like because these bigger corporations can look at them and go like, oh, you make that game, and that game, and you're probably going to continue to. So we'll just, keep making those. Codemasters, keep making driving games. Keep making Elder Scrolls games. Bethesda, Arcane, make another one of those immersive sims. Who knows, 5 years, 10 years down the line. But like, it feels like right now there's no better, there's more diversity in the types of games that are out than ever before, I think.
Right. Yeah. Your point being that you're refuting the idea of like we're getting this watered down, landscape now.
That to me sounds like Sean Layden issuing. Yeah. That sounds like Sean Layden issuing a quote on the heels of the Bethesda acquisition to me. But I don't know. But before the acquisition of, I guess Layden's not there anymore. So whatever. He doesn't have an axe to grind either way. This is it's the consolidation stuff, all that stuff seems weird, and I think it might get weird for a little bit. But the thing to remember is like you've got key employees that are part of these acquisitions that are going to earn out eventually. They're going to get their money from, maybe like Respawn is maybe an example there of like they got acquired by EA, and then you saw Drew McCoy and John Shearing eventually take off to go start their own thing. you'll see things like that. You'll see eventually people from Bethesda will go like, this is great, but I want to go out on my own and do this. And maybe they will then have the capital to do that because they were able to convert some equity in the company into personal wealth from Microsoft as a part of that buyout, or they work out a contract and get a bonus. And they're like, this bonus is enough for me to go out and start a new studio and go out and try to do something else. And
then the cycle continues, right? Like,
exactly. Totally. Yeah. That is, I feel like that's a very natural cycle in a lot of ways where, but right now we're definitely in that moment, that phase of like, there's a lot of money out there and a lot of companies can cash in on that stuff. But on the other end of that, I think maybe it'll take another 5 years, 3 to 5, whatever, but you'll see people close out their contracts and be like, cool, I'm on my way. Whether that's to go become a philanthropist like one of the BioWare doctors did, or or an investor, or whatever you want to say, or go start a new game studio, or all that other stuff. Like it is something that, in an ideal scenario, creates opportunity for a level of people at that company to then go out and do it again. So I think we'll, right now we're in that phase, and right now it does feel a little weird, but I think when we get to the other side of it, it's going to be even weirder and even, potentially more exciting.
There's a lot of money in games right now, like top to bottom. Like, in the indie sort of, there's a feeding frenzy of just the amount of indie games coming out, and sometimes it's really difficult for games to get their head above the crowd, as it were. But that's kind of a different problem to this. Think about all the games we talked about today on the show. Like, I mean, like there's a Pokemon game in there, but then we're talking about Death's Store, Intravenous, like the Playdate. These are all like these aren't big corporate projects. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they're a bit more in that mid and low, indie tier, that AAA or whatever it is you call it.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like, it's not like a natural process. It's not like flowers blooming and there's big studios that turn into small studios. It is like it's ever changing and an artificial thing. But like just from a, standing back perspective, there's a lot of money to be made in games, more than there was last year, it looks like. And it's not stopping, there's no drought of ideas or drought of people getting paid. It's not like the music industry, basically.
Exactly. If anything, I feel like the big game, the big AAA showpiece blockbuster game, like that is the stuff that seems a little shakier to me. Yeah. We've seen a game like Halo get pushed back a year because those are swings that they can't afford to miss on. And but we see companies miss, like Avengers, for example, right. Like a huge amount of money went into making that thing. It did not land amazingly well, but like they have to keep at it because they're like, we have to find a way to extract the value out of all this development work one way or the other. And so they keep grinding it out almost Ubisoft style for something like that. And so to me, it's that big game space that just seems way more uncertain, and a lot of the excitement and a lot of the new crazy ideas are coming out of those smaller games. And so I think that's, maybe we see a shift in a direction where some of those studios get acquired, but in some cases it seems like it's studios that, like you said, they get acquired to make the thing they've been making. And right. Whether that's a game that is going to end up being at the top of the heap, like a Starfield or a Halo or whatever, or whether it's some of those like games that exist under the surface, like and maybe I don't mean this in a shit talky kind of way, but like a Deathloop, or like the kind of second tier of game that exists to kind of support that stuff or fill out a first party lineup or whatever. And I don't know. But the short version, it's a really interesting and weird time right now, and at times I think it will feel icky as some of those acquisitions continue to happen, and you'll be like, that doesn't seem like a great fit, or boy, they bought this studio and boy, all the talent sure did get out of there.
Right.
2 years to the day after the acquisition, or 3 years to the day, whatever it is. And so I think that's the thing people forget about when people talk about what EA did to BioWare or that sort of thing, is like built into that is the idea that like these people became employees and they don't have to work there forever. And if they don't want to work for someone else, then they're
millionaire
going to take
employees.
employees that you just made a shitload of money for selling their company or a company that had equity in. They're going to be like, cool, I'm going to be here for a while, and then, all right, did my time. I got some other ideas out here of shit I want to do, and now I'm going to take this EA money and go do it. And I think that's just a kind of the natural way of things.
You can see canaries in the coal mine. I think one of the ones where you do see a lot of stagnation, but doesn't necessarily have anything to do with this, is the sports game genre, which is basically, but that I feel like is because of just licensing and all that sort of stuff. But like, you can look at pockets of the industry and see where there is stagnation. And that's kind of how I think it's good to meter other parts of the industry against. Like, you could argue the same thing is perhaps the case in the military shooter genre, you know what I mean? Where there's just much more risk aversion, much more higher stakes, or licensing in the case of sports games. But then look at other genres and you don't see that, you know?
Yeah, I think that's, but also I guess I would say about sports games in general is like EA is not incentivized to make a better FIFA. They're incentivized to make a better slot machine.
Right.
You know?
They would be though, if someone else could have Manchester United in their game, maybe they would be, you know? Right.
Yeah, you're right. But like that, I feel like that end of the business is just not set up to inspire any kind of, huge innovation. That's why we get the truck stick one year and, and all that sort of stuff. It's why they still haven't talked about a hockey game, really.
Relax.
Someone wrote in, I ended up cutting the email, but they were like, isn't it funny that EA devoted time to an F1 game but didn't bother with hockey, huh?
Yeah.
What are they? They're trying to hurt me emotionally.
Yes, no, that is exactly. Yes, they are.
But this seems like a low blow snipe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that was unearned.
Well, yeah, but also not untrue. Zach from Springfield writes in and says the Vita was too early. Bold. I think with the Steam Deck announcement and the thriving Switch market, we can say if the Vita had been released even in the last handful of years, it could have thrived more. I feel like handheld gaming is all the rage, and a 2021 Vita could have incorporated a dock a la Switch or Steam Deck. Am I wrong?
If dreams and ups were candy and... Let's talk about the Vita.
Let's talk about the Vita.
Sure.
Let's talk about...
memory cards.
Yeah.
Oh, expensive.
Sure.
Those things were
Small.
so expensive.
Let's talk about the 50 different ways. And I bought a Vita and I bought a PSP. Let's talk about the 50 different control schemes on a Vita. What's going on there? Let's talk about its menu. Remember that nightmare of a menu?
Yeah, you get to peel it back and
hit the bubbles. What the fuck?
Oh god.
Yeah, but I will say it felt good. Like, I think it there were parts of it that felt good. Yeah. Like
the thing
that wasn't the thing that I would like pick this thing up and be like, this is never gonna work.
What game are you gonna play? Name a game.
Persona.
I played. No, I played Tearaway. I played the escape thing they did. What was it? It was the black and white character escape plan.
Escape plan.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
Cool. All right. This thing's $300. Keep going.
Rogue Legacy.
Yeah.
Available.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. That's not on other platforms.
They started tapping into some of that same market of like, can we get some? Is this a good place to play indie games like a Spelunky and that sort of stuff? So like, I get the similarities, but you have to remember, like, yeah, proprietary memory cards didn't help, but you have to remember, Sony did not devote its best first-party development to that platform. You got an Uncharted game made by not the Uncharted studio at launch. Like, out of the gate, they were saying, this is not our main focus.
Yeah.
Please buy a PlayStation 3. Like, they never, ever supported the Vita the way they should have if they wanted it to truly take off. And they obviously, it's a different scenario, but they never supported it as well as Nintendo is currently supporting the Switch, because that's where all of Nintendo's games come out. You buy that device, you get everything. You don't get like, I don't know, we gave the Vita kit to a studio and they made a weird thing that uses the back touch and it's fun, but it's not, you're not going to like...
The support the caliber of support did not match the caliber of the hardware, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Well, they were kind of selling it as it was like what Jeff said earlier. Remember, you said that what was it? The Nintendo in America was trying not to have 2D pixel stuff come over. Was that what you're saying? Or PlayStation? You're saying?
Yeah, PlayStation.
Sorry, Sony.
Yeah.
They were selling the Vita as like a portable PlayStation 3, right? It was all these like 3D games that looked worse on this thing.
Yeah.
Like that's not what Nintendo does with the Switch. They don't try and make like AAA PC games run on this little dinky handheld thing. They make games that work for it.
But you know, like Doom, you know, someone's out there trying to do it. But.
And so the games we talk about, right? It's the same with the PSP. The games we talk about are like Loco Roco and you know,
Frobisher
Katamari
says, you know,
like weird little things. It's never all the games that they were throwing on the commercials. Like these Uncharted games.
Like now I can play MLB on the go. You know, it's not like cool, but like that's not their best foot forward with any of that software. And you had a few studios that did some cool things in first party that were making Vita exclusive games. And, you know, it's not without games, but it's such a different scenario that if they came out right now with that, while also still trying to get all their best, biggest studios to make PlayStation 5 games, it'd be the same thing all over again. You'd be like, look at all these also ran like whatever, like no one, like this is fine, but it's not some main thing. It just was never a main focus of Sony's. Even out of the gate, even at launch, it felt like the retail push for it was like minimal. Like it defaulted to, throw these next to the bargain rack in the Best Buy. We'll move them to the bargain rack eventually, but just set them there at full price for now. Like every retail spot I saw for Vita games, which was just looked like a disaster. It looked like they didn't know what they wanted to do. Digital game purchases were not as far forward as they are now.
God, that's store.
So maybe that's an aspect of like them being a little bit early to it because of the cost of the storage and the proprietary storage and all that sort of stuff. But like
that was the worst part.
You know, that stuff sucked, but like they did not do themselves any big favors on that thing when it came to just putting amazing software on it.
What was that? The Gravity game?
Gravity Rush.
Gravity Rush. Yeah.
That was a good one.
It was neat. It was neat.
I have this very vivid memory of swiping through like 3 screens of games. Those are the only 3 games that I can remember. I don't know what the other ones were. They're something. I just, It
was a great place to play Luftrausers.
Yeah. There was a Final Fantasy game on the Vita. Crisis Core, right?
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. That was a
those
slick
bubbles.
one.
Those bubbles, man. That was the worst UI of all time.
That UI was
Man, let me tell you, buying one in 2019 and then trying to get any game on that was so hard to do.
Yeah, because is the store down? What happened? No, the store is not down. Is it down?
The store
Remember
is
they were
not. I don't think it's down. I think they averted that. But
I hated all the shooters. Those were the worst.
Yeah, like there was like a
garbage.
Yeah, like Resistance
there was a kill
or whatever.
Zone.
Yeah, that's right. There was a kill zone. It's like you're using the back touch to like tap here to throw a grenade. You know, like I don't. I don't want to do this. This is not
all the weird apps that run it like near.
Yeah, the GPS thing.
Yeah,
that they eventually took out. They updated the firmware and removed near completely. And that was one of the neatest things about it early. I remember getting a Vita before they came out, and I forget. I think is when we went to go pick them up from Sony. I think I might have driven down to get them, and then we were driving back and stopped off to get something to eat. And I'm like loading up near and trying to be like, "What's near? What's around here? Is there a bubble I can pop or an item I can pick up?" Or is this like it never was clear what that thing was really good for. It was no Street Pass.
I remember what I played on it now.
Okay,
Rayman Legends.
Ooh.
All right.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Guacamelee.
Great game.
Also good.
Resogun and the skateboarding Ollie Ollie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the remote play being neat. It didn't always work all the time.
It was an interesting idea. Yeah.
I had a friend who was in Ireland once and was playing his PlayStation in New York that he had left on through remote play on his Vita. which seemed insane.
That's
and
dedication.
probably had crazy latency. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool ideas. But yeah, it never, things maybe would have gone differently if that was like your place to play all of Sony's biggest games, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And without that level of support, how are the third parties going to thrive? And, it's not to say that thing had no games and all the other stuff. It just, it was just a fundamentally different thing. And you can't really look at what's going on right now with the Switch and make a comparison because it's just not the same. If Nintendo was still supporting the 3DS, then maybe there'd be a weird point there. But all right,
no cross buy, like everything's just changed. Like the
like it's occasionally you would get a game with cross buy, but that was up to the devs, and like there's just that stuff seemed like a mess too. Let's see here. Joaquin from Chile writes in and says, once in a while, Epic likes to send surveys to the people who play Fortnite. I enjoy the game quite a bit with my group of friends, and I find really interesting the type of shit they ask on these surveys. One question from it was one of the wildest things I have read all year, and here it is.
Okay.
If Fortnite were to turn into a human being and walk through the door, who would that person be?
Oh,
Classic marketing fucking question.
That is some CRS game bullshit, like trying to, prepare for some other next level bullshit with Fortnite becoming a sentient sort of being. I don't like that question. You skip that question.
Do we all have to answer?
Do you have an answer?
Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so fucking mean to Ryan Reynolds.
It's like mass appeal. Just mass appeal.
LeBron James, but it's Scarlett Johansson's voice.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. I like that.
I was gonna say like a modern. Think about what Fred Durst meant to an era in which he was initially popular, and if
Post
who
Malone?
is that person? Yeah, is it Post Malone?
It might be the Kid Leroy.
Yeah. It is Post Malone.
Is it Posty? Is Posty the human?
I think it's Elon Musk, actually, probably.
Oh God,
Oh,
yes.
bro. God.
Yeah,
disgusting.
well, look,
it's
that's
not
the
that I'm a big
Fortnite's
Fortnite
incredible.
fan, but that is rough on Fortnite.
It's rough.
Is it Riff Raff?
look.
Because Riff Raff goes and gets tattoos of all these brands that he's got like his Bart Simpson
Ooh,
tattoo next
I'd be
to his
interested.
other. And
I'd be interested to ask like a Gen Zer if they know who Riff Raff is.
oh yeah, that's
Who's big on TikTok? Who's like the TikToker?
Fred Durst 2000 is big on TikTok.
That's the Honey Bucket guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
the
seen
Honey
that.
Bucket guy. Yeah. He's huge. I saw a Honey Bucket the other day. I thought of that guy.
Creeps
Yeah, I
me
mean,
out.
I go in them all. Anytime I see Honey Bucket, I just give it a little kiss. I'm just like,
Oh, of course.
Honey
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
and then,
on it.
and then like Danny did just dab right. in front
Yeah,
of me.
you gotta dab on the haters. For sure.
For sure.
That's a
Let's
fucking
see.
wild question to ask. What? Oh my god.
Yeah, like it's like they're trying to figure out like what is our brand? What do we actually have here? Like it's a good question to ask because I feel like Fortnite is so popular and it just has so many different other brands in it that like what is the brand identity of Fortnite? It's like
But
you just
like,
look at it
would
and
it
you're like, I
ball
don't
of
know,
flesh
the
at
main
the
guy
end
from
of
Ready Player
inside,
One.
like-
Is it that guy?
Yeah.
it's but like without the
fucking-
context for how the answer of the question is saying this person,
Right.
it's almost meaningless. You know what I mean? Like,
Totally. Yeah.
oh.
Yes. Let's see. Tobias from Germany writes in and says, I was thinking about games availability when it comes to Steam and the Epic Game Store, and I had to think of all the exclusives that you won't get on Steam because of Epic's big juicy wallet. Ugh. How likely is it the developers will rethink these exclusivity deals if the Steam Deck is a big success? I could see it being a huge incentive for more people sticking exclusively to Steam and so on and so forth and so forth. I don't think this will... This is not going to change anything on that front.
No, and all it would do is change the numbers, right? Like if that becomes a factor, then the buyout cost to only be on Epic goes up, right? In your negotiation. So I don't think
there's been, well, and granted, I have not seen every single data point on every single game that has been an Epic exclusive, but I feel like the conventional wisdom is that when your Epic exclusive comes to Steam exactly a year later, it does fucking gangbusters. It's not like it has a reduced perception, or it's like, oh, no one bought it because it's already been out a year. People that are sticking to Steam are sticking to Steam, and they will buy that game a year later, especially because a lot of those games have benefited from some word of mouth or a year of updates that have made them stronger games. Launch promotions on Steam, like Rogue Company was one that just hit recently, that like they're just like, fuck it, the battle pass is free, come on, try this thing.
Right. It's a very like clever sentiment, because like the sentiment there is positive. The sentiment is, oh, the game has been freed from the clutches of Epic, right? There's no like
there's no punitive like, I'm not gonna buy it because and like that all happens a year before, and by the time it comes to Steam, people have forgotten about that part of it, and then the part where they were like, well, I'm not gonna buy it from Epic for like whatever reason, and they just get it on Steam. So that's in some ways, Epic is behaving as like a new tier of early access for Steam releases in some sense, which is a weird spot. But
won't you be able to
install Epic
Epic Game Store on your Steam Deck?
Yeah, I mean,
right?
We'll see. It remains to be seen how much work that'll take, right? Or are you going to run it on the default Linux OS and run everything through Proton, or are you going to have to install Windows first? Like that will be that would be, to me, I would like to see Epic just make a version of their store for the Steam Deck. Just like, here's an easy version to install, and the games work the same way they do on this, like, hey, we're running them through Proton as well, or whatever it is, and find a way to make that happen. I think that would be cool.
One more point on it. I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago as well, is that you may have also like noticed a lot that like games are now splitting a lot of the PC and console launches, because the marketing strategy seems to be, and early access plays into this as well, that the more beats you have, the better. Because when you used to be like, launch everything on the same day, will be the loudest bang, we'll get all the eyes on it. Whereas now it seems like the conventional wisdom actually is to have one big beat. It builds some audience, have another beat for the console launch. It reminds all the people on the first one and the people on that console. Yeah, early access game comes out, people play it. They don't expect too much. 1.0 hits. You have all of those fans talking about it. So having like a split PC launch is a freebie for so many of these companies. Yeah. Because it's basically like having a second launch date. You know what I mean? For a whole different
How many
audience.
times can we release this game?
Totally. Like, look at any game that's been released over the past like 2 years and have a look at the different release dates. Like it's
and then the bundles, and then on the other end of that, you get the traditional like DLC bundle, your like Game of the Year edition, collector's edition, or whatever. So like they try to get those beats as well. Like, that was something I was looking at the Mortal Kombat 11 Steam page, and just realizing, oh right, they released that Aftermath DLC and then season pass stuff with that. But then at some point they were like, here's the bundled Ultimate Edition you can get for the same base price that people paid on launch day for the non-bundled version. And so it's just, you get that situation of like, how can we maintain our price point? How can we keep selling a $60 product for as long as possible? And whether that's, we'll get our early adopters in early access and maybe even cut them a slight break on some of that early access pricing. Some devs do that. And then just you're right, like the multiple beats, whether that's pre-launch, whether that's rolling out to different platforms, and then you start getting those DLC bundles on the other end of that. They're just trying to maintain that price as long as possible across as many different platforms as possible.
Yeah, we used to worry about live games. Remember, every game's going to be a live game. Every game, this is that version, is that every game can be a live game, because you stretch out your launch over years, right? And then it feels like it, even if it isn't a game that is a live service. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, the thing about the people who played Hades on the Epic Store for that year that it was there while it was still early access and getting all those updates, like those were, and Dead Cells was another case of like, those were big, meaningful updates. Dead Cells were not an Epic game, but like using early access as a way to add really big, significant things to your game. You're right. At some point, it totally starts to take on that quality of a live game. And also, like, I think the downside of that is, like, I get to a point now with some of these games where I'm disappointed that it's over.
Yeah,
You know?
right.
It's
Yeah.
like it used to be like, I'm gonna wait until this is done before I play it, and now sometimes that comes and I'm like, I wish there was a little more.
There's something there. There's something psychological about a game being finished and it feeling like it feels like the party has ended and you're still hanging around. Whereas if you were playing it even in early access, it just feels more alive, even if after launch there might be more people playing than there was back when it felt like it was more alive. I don't know what that thing is, but it's become a part of games now. It's become a part of the way in which people connect to communities and connect to games.
Yeah, people want to talk about new shit. And when there's less new shit, they move on to the next new shit, I guess.
Yeah.
Robbie in Edinburgh, Scotland, writes in for our last question. Says, I'm Scottish and live, somewhat surprisingly, in Scotland. The drinking culture over here is a bit weird. We love binge drinking for some reason. It's fun.
The worst kind of drinking?
Sounds familiar.
The only kind of drinking. All right. Anyway, you're all intimately familiar with Buckfast. I don't know that we all are.
Intimate is maybe not the right word, but okay.
Yeah, I've had some Buckfast. I am I would call myself Buckfast positive. I would drink more Buckfast if given the opportunity. Just they're few and far between. Yeah, yes, exactly. You might be appalled to know that a bar I used to frequent had Bucky on tap in the soda gun. Ooh.
Oh, Jesus.
Just imagine being at a bar where someone could shoot Buckfast at you.
Lovely.
Out of the gun.
Living the dream.
Yeah. Fittingly, the bar was called Nice and Sleazy's. My favorite metal bar offers Bucky Bombs. Those are exactly what you think they are. A shot of Buckfast placed in a glass of Red Bull and downed in one go.
Yo.
Sure.
I don't think that's enough Buckfast.
Sign me up. Yeah, that doesn't seem... The Jaeger bombs seem harsher.
Yeah. That doesn't... Like a shot of Buckfast, like, what are we, children? Come on.
Let's put a shot of Jaeger in a glass of Buckfast.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And then drop
and then just pound a Red Bull on the other side of that.
Right.
Or like the bar's shitty knockoff version of lick Red Bull. Yeah.
Okay.
Body shots of Red Bull. And then one final note, a great way to end the podcast, just some real positivity here. One final note, Brewdog can eat a bag of dicks. They treat their staff like scum, interview marketing people, and steal their design briefs, shortchange competition winners, and sell equity stakes in a punk brewery. Almost the furthest away from punk you can get, unless you're a military shooter game, I'd imagine.
Yeah, they suck. There was a big expose on them last year, wasn't there? About all that stuff.
Yeah.
That
sounds familiar.
I think their stuff makes its way over here, right?
The name is familiar. Yeah, I remember there being something around whatever Brewdog is, but I try to not pay too much attention to that stuff. But
shame, it's a good name. Brewdog.
Yeah, that's great.
Pass me a
all right, well,
Brewdog.
That's going to do it. And people in chat are saying, we have numerous people in chat. They're saying, yeah, fuck Brewdog. Brewdog sucks shit, says my real name is DJ. Azure Gale says, bar beef, go. All right. Yeah. A lot of people have, a lot of people not liking Brewdog.
Tell me to say fuck Brewdog. I guess I got to say fuck Brewdog. Fuck Brewdog.
Yeah.
Yeah. All my homies hate Brewdog.
That's right.
Fuck Brewdog.
We ain't never been down with no Brewdog. The fuck out of here.
What would happen if we had someone on the podcast who didn't like Bugfast?
I mean, that's fine. I think it's totally appropriate to not like Buckfast.
Oh, it's you.
No, I like Buckfast, but it's terrible.
I've never had it.
It's a nightmare. It's like a fortified wine.
Robitussin.
Yeah, it's in the same vein as like a Mad Dog 2020 or like a Cisco.
So you could like
a dragon?
In a pinch, you could put it in your car if you ran out of gas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you got to get somewhere in a hurry,
like I got Buckfast in the trunk.
Hey, no matter what you're trying to do, Buckfast will help you get there. That's what I find.
You'll just be in bad shape when you arrive.
Oh yeah, the worst shape. That's gonna do it for the show.
Up.
Yeah, it's Buckfast. You can't find it. Maybe it's easier to find on the East Coast because it's just like slightly closer. to the birthplace of Buckfast, but not a lot of West Coast Buckfast stuff. There's a lot of retailers out there that will like import various liquors and wines and stuff like that. None of them carry Buckfast. It's weird.
The first thing that comes up in Google is the question: is Buckfast banned in America?
No, but like, should it? Because it's caffeinated. So that was not a forced ban on caffeinated. When Four Loko and Sparks and Mickey's Buzzer or whatever it was, when all those
people.
Alka Pops, they call them in the UK, I believe. When all that stuff
Ice,
got,
baby.
yeah. Well, no, Smirnoff Ice is fine because it doesn't have caffeine in it. That was the thing that they were like, "Hey, we have to put a stop to this because college kids don't know how to drink, and so all this stuff you're marketing to college kids is
having heart attacks and
unsurprisingly
stuff,
fucking them up. They are just getting blackout drunk off of 3 cans of juice." And
now it's White Claw.
You see, but the White Claw doesn't have any caffeine in it.
Now,
so it's
baby.
it's not calling it. I just read an article on CNN about how that whole market segment is fucked. The whole hard seltzer thing is just like, they're just like, nope.
Yeah.
Like even Truly, which was like the number 2 to White Claw, is like, it ain't growing the way we thought it would. Yeah.
Wow.
They make it sound
There
like
was
people are done
probably
with
the
that
right
shit.
way to operate, but they overshot that runway.
50 brands just turned up overnight.
Right.
That was wild.
Yeah. Like White Claw happened and then everything else did. Yeah. But no, I it's probably the right thing to do, but I do miss the days when the caffeine was just mixed right into the Four Loko and you didn't have to do it yourself, like it was that magical era of like vodka Red Bulls being like the drink of choice for a lot of people. And then suddenly Sparks came out and you were like, this is like way cheaper and just fucking trashy as shit. And I'm having a great time drinking too many of these. And they're probably right to make Four Loko change its formula to take all the caffeine out, and Sparks and all these other brands that came and went. But
save us from ourselves.
I felt invincible during those like that year.
yeah, no, those were big days. That was like, I feel like that was like right around the time that I was getting out of work. I was out of work for some of that time. And so it was like a good solid era.
You were just Super Saiyan for 12 months.
Pretty much.
The amazing thing about the White Claw stuff is like in September of 2019, CNN ran a headline that said, "America is running out of White Claw hard seltzer." Right.
Yeah.
July 23rd, 2021, the hard seltzer craze has come to an end. It's just like,
fail fast.
Overcorrected.
Yeah. They saw that shortage and everyone went like, we got to get in on this. And it just never happened. So, I don't know.
This podcast never ended.
Make fucking microchips, motherfuckers.
Right. Yes.
To that.
Put caffeine in the microchips and then maybe we'll get something. All right. That's going to do it for the show. We want to thank Buckfast for everything they do for so many people around the world. And we'll be back next week with another episode of the Giant Bombcast.